Old District 7, 10 days later. Smoke rose from the collapsed alley walls. Screams echoed, cut short by distant thundercracks that weren't weather. They were power. Null stood in the center of it all. Quiet, calm, coat fluttering from an unseen wind. Rubble floated behind him. Shattered brick and bones suspended midair like the world hadn't finished deciding if they should fall or not. The villain in front of him, Codex, grinned wide with blood trailing from the side of his mouth. "You're stronger than the vault said." Null said nothing. His right hand pulsed with thin rings of silver. His eyes were fixed, emotionless. Codex laughed. "I could unmake a whole city with one word, you know that? Language is law, Null. All systems follow it." Null raised a hand. Codex's jaw snapped shut by force, his own words turning to dust before they left his throat. Null stepped forward, his boots crushing energy-coated sigils written into the ground. "Creation obeys you," he said quietly. "But only because I allow it." He flicked a finger. A jagged spear of energy formed from nothing. Clean, perfect, dense with force, and impaled Codex through the shoulder, pinning him to the wall. The villain screamed through clenched teeth, energy bleeding from his skin like shredded data. Null's voice was flat. "Next time you carve your glyphs into children, I'll erase more than your magic." Codex couldn't speak, couldn't even move. Null turned and walked away, letting the spear unravel into glowing threads that vanished into mist. Above, news drones hovered, recording everything. He let them. He wanted them to. Midtown Studio 1, live broadcast. Vault exclusive interview. The stage was all chrome and white. A velvet chair, crystal lights above, sleek branding behind them. Vault Vision Hero Truths. Sitting across from the interviewer, Miss Lena Grace, a famous face of the Vault's media division, was Null. Still in full black suit. Mask off, but shadow still coated half his face like smoke that wouldn't burn away. "Thank you for agreeing to this," Lena said with a practiced smile. "I was curious," Null replied. "You all watch me. I figured I'd look back." The audience laughed nervously. Lena leaned forward. "We'll get right to it. You've appeared in 9 sectors. You've shut down 6 villain groups. You've damaged 5 vault zones. Some see you as a hero. Some, something else." "I'm not here for either," Null said simply. "Just cleaning up. And looking for someone." She raised an eyebrow. "Someone brought you here?" "A presence," he replied. "I felt something, bigger than this place. Like someone wrote this world without finishing the ending." She paused. "You believe this world is artificial?" "I believe someone touched it." "And if you find them?" Null stared straight into the lens. "I'll remove their hand." Silence. The audience didn't breathe. Lena cleared her throat. "Some of our vault officers want to recruit you. Others believe you're too dangerous. Where do you stand?" "I'm not standing," Null said. "I'm watching. And so far, your vault is bloated, political, and scared." "Scared? Of someone like me?" he said flatly. Lena didn't smile this time. Null looked at her. "You wanted me here for answers, but this is a threat scan in disguise." He stood slowly. "Tell your handlers. I'm not looking for power, but I remember exactly how it feels to take it away." The broadcast cut before he left the frame. 2 hours later, abandoned subway line, Sector 3. Hilo's voice crackled in his earpiece. "Target found. Codename, Ardent. Fire-based. Ranked Tier A by Vault. Wanted for 13 kills. 6 were heroes." Null crouched above the ruined station entrance. His eyes narrowed. The heat below was unnatural, too dry, too clean. He dropped in. The air sizzled instantly. Flames coiled around the broken tunnel like serpents, licking concrete walls, hissing at his presence. A man stood there, shirtless, his body wrapped in moving fire symbols, eyes burning white. "So you're the Null?" Ardent grinned. "You don't look like shit." "You talk a lot for someone who's about to bleed," Null replied. The flames rushed forward like a tidal wave. Null didn't move. They hit him head-on and vanished. just blinked out of existence. Ardent's eyes widened. What? I erased the air your fire needed, Null said. Try again. Ardent screamed and launched forward, fists coated in sunfire. Every step he took melted the rails beneath. Null met him mid-swing. Their hands clashed. Shockwaves tore through the tunnel. Ardent's flames spiked, trying to incinerate the space itself. I burn hotter than physics. Null raised his hand. I write new physics. His fingers twisted. The fire turned solid, then brittle, then shattered into crystal dust. Ardent backed away, now wide-eyed. What are you? Null stepped forward. Bored. He flicked his hand again, creating 10 exact replicas of Ardent, all frozen mid-movement. Ardent blinked. What are those? Versions of you, Null said. From different deaths I almost gave you. He pointed at one. That version melted into lava. He pointed at another. That version screamed as gravity folded in on him. The real Ardent dropped to his knees, gasping. Stop! I already have. The rest of the illusions vanished. Adam crouched in front of him, calm again. You don't get to die, he whispered. You get to live and remember. He placed a mark on Ardent's chest, a symbol of absence, a curse of memory. Ardent would never sleep again without reliving this. Vault HQ, observation deck. Lena stood behind the security glass. Is he playing with them? No, said Commander Hark. He's warning them. Do we try again to recruit him? Hark shook his head. We prepare for the day we have to stop him. And if we can't? Hark turned toward her. Then we pray he stays bored. Underground base, command chamber. Adam floated midair, meditating. Rook and Ivy monitored the room. No leads, Ivy said. The anomaly you traced hasn't appeared again. Adam's voice was quiet. Someone's hiding it. Slate stepped in. Sir, a new trend. More people are starting to ask if you're even human. He opened his eyes. Let them. He rose. Let them wonder. He walked to the central console. The map of the city spun slowly. There was more work to do. Villains to erase. Threads to trace. Whoever touched this world was still watching. But so was he. And this time, he was watching back. Ruined courtyard. The air smelled like burnt ozone and blood. Nullbreed sat atop a fractured statue, one leg dangling over the edge, his fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. The city stretched below him, broken, flickering with distant fires, alive with the hum of fear. He liked it this way. Chaos was honest. Then, a sound. Not wind, not rubble settling. A tear. The space 3 feet in front of him ripped, not like a portal, not like a crack, like reality itself had been unzipped. Nullbreed didn't move. His lips curled. Finally, from the tear, a figure stepped out. The ground beneath him warped. Not bending, not breaking, just changing, as if the laws holding it together had been rewritten mid-step. The air thickened, heavy with something old, something that didn't belong here. Nullbreed tilted his head. You're not from around here. The figure, Valor, smiled. And the world flinched. Nullbreed walked. Valor followed. Not behind him. Not beside him. Parallel. Every step Valor took left no footprints. The ground refused to acknowledge him. The wind didn't touch his clothes. The dust didn't dare settle on him. Nullbreed noticed. You don't exist here, he mused. Not really. Just a shadow pushing through. Valor chuckled. Existence is flexible. A drone buzzed overhead, one of the Vault scouts, probably sent to track Nullbreed's movements. Valor glanced up. The drone unmade itself. 1 second it was there, hovering, lenses focused. The next, nothing. No explosion. No crash. Just gone like it had never been built. Nullbreed stopped walking. That's cute. Valor shrugged. I prefer silence when I talk. Nullbreed turned to face him fully now, his grin sharp. Talk then. Valor didn't sit. Didn't lean. He just was, standing there like a glitch in the world. You're strong, he said. Stronger than this place deserves. Nullbreed scoffed. You didn't come here to flatter me. No, Valor agreed. I came to offer you a game. A game. The only one worth playing. Valor's voice dropped, low and smooth. The kind that starts here and ends everywhere. Nullbreed's eyes flickered. Multiverse. He'd felt it before, whispers of other worlds, other versions. But no one had ever confirmed it. Not like this. Valor continued. This city? This world? It's a seed. And you could be the one who cracks it open. Nullbreed crossed his arms. Why me? Because you're already breaking the rules. Valor gestured to the ruins around them. You don't follow their laws. You don't obey their limits. You erase what you don't like. He leaned in. Imagine doing that to everything. Nullbreed was silent for a long moment. Then, prove it. Valor smiled and snapped his fingers. The world split. Not in half, not in pieces. It unfolded, layers peeling back like pages in a book, revealing infinite cities stacked atop each other. Infinite skies bleeding into voids, infinite versions of them standing in infinite ruins. Nullbreed saw himself 1,000 times over. Some wore crowns of dead stars. Some drowned in oceans of liquid shadow. Some stood atop mountains of broken heroes. All of them powerful. All of them free. Then, the vision collapsed. They were back in the ruins. Nullbreed exhaled. His hands were trembling. Not from fear. From hunger. Valor watched him. Well? Nullbreed licked his teeth. Tell me how we start. Valor reached into the air and pulled. A single black chess piece appeared in his palm. A king. But not the kind from any set Nullbreed had seen. This one was carved from something darker than void, its edges jagged, its surface swallowing the light. Take it, Valor said. Nullbreed did. The moment his fingers touched it, the piece melted into his skin, searing a mark into his palm. A sigil, pulsing like a heartbeat. Valor's voice was a whisper now. This world is the first move. Break it. Shatter its rules. Let them see what happens when something like you stops playing nice. Nullbreed flexed his hand. The sigil burned brighter. And after, Valor turned, already walking back toward the tear in reality. After, he glanced over his shoulder, grinning. After, we burn the rest. The signal. High above, in Vault HQ, alarms blared. Screens flickered. Maps glitched. Commander Hark stared at the readings. Spikes of energy unlike anything they'd ever recorded. Not from Null. Not from any villain. Something new. Something worse. Lena gripped the console. What the hell was that? Hark didn't answer. Because deep down he already knew. A line had been crossed. And there was no going back. Underground, Nullbreed's lair. Nullbreed stood in the dark, staring at his hand. The sigil pulsed. He could feel it now, the weight of what he'd agreed to, the scale of it. He smiled. For the first time in years. He wasn't bored. Abandoned skyline, nightfall. The stars above didn't shine like they used to. Not here. Not anymore. They flickered like they were scared. Like something had whispered to them and they didn't want to be seen. Down below, at the edge of the city where glass towers became shadows, Adam stood alone on the rooftop of a ruined spire. Wind curled around him but didn't dare touch him. His coat fluttered on its own, pulled by something deeper than the air. Then, it hit. A pulse. Small. Clean. Not from this world. Adam's eyes snapped open. The signal was faint. Like someone had pressed their fingers against the seams of the universe and pulled just enough to leave a fingerprint behind. Not a portal. Not teleportation. Entry. His body blurred. And in the next instant he was gone. Ruined courtyard seconds later. The world cracked like glass as Adam appeared midair. No flash. No warning. One moment the courtyard was empty. The next it knew it had a visitor. Adam floated 10 feet above the stone. Boots pointed down, arms still, gaze locked. His eyes swept the wreckage. A broken statue, twisted ground, air still buzzing with the scent of null code and ash. Power residue clung to the scene like smoke after a fire. But no one was here. No nullbreed. No signature to trace. And yet he could feel it. His eyes narrowed. This wasn't just power, he muttered. He raised a hand, letting creation thread between his fingers like silver ink in water. The threads spun into a web, reading the echo of reality. Two presences. One was familiar, dark, chaotic, controlled in a way that was almost practiced. That was Nullbreed. He'd crossed paths with his energy before. But the second, Adam's fingers twitched. The web snapped. The threads dissolved like they'd touched something they weren't allowed to read. What the hell was that? He dropped to the ground, boots landing with a soft thud on the broken stone. His eyes scanned every edge of the courtyard. The ground had been warped, not broken. Twisted in a way that looked like space forgot how it worked for a second. He crouched, touched a shard of air still trembling with distortion. Flinched. The air flinched from him. He stood back up slowly. Someone came through. Not a gate, not a spell. Something else. His mind scanned through every anomaly he had logged since arriving in this world. None matched this. None felt like this. Whoever it was, wasn't from this world. But they hadn't arrived in it. They had stepped through it, like it was just a hallway to somewhere else. That kind of movement wasn't teleportation. It was invasion. Adam turned in a slow circle. Still nothing. Even his system couldn't track the echoes. That meant only one thing. Whoever you are, you don't want to be found. He looked up toward the dark sky. The stars still flickered. But now they weren't just afraid. They were hiding. Adam's eyes burned faint gold. Too bad, he said quietly. He raised his hand and pointed toward the air where the tear had once been. A single particle of light ignited. Then another. He began tracing a map, drawing threads not of power but possibility. If he couldn't find them through this world, he'd follow the laws they bent, and find what laws they broke. He stepped into the air, slowly rising again, hovering like a shadow that didn't need the ground. Then, he vanished again. And the courtyard? It went silent. Still. But now, watched. Celestial plane. The room shimmered with strands of light, thousands of them, dancing slowly in the void like threads pulled from forgotten stars. This was where all fates converged. Where every outcome, every broken destiny, every rebirth and collapse spiraled together like a cosmic sea. At the center of it all sat Aurora. Eyes cold, sharp, glowing faint gold. She leaned forward slightly, chin resting on her palm, elbow balanced on the curved armrest of her throne. Her other hand hovered lazily in the air, fingers flicking across invisible lines of fate, each one glowing with a different pulse. Some bright, some cracked, some bleeding dark energy from corrupted futures. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. She was the goddess of prophecy and causality, after all. She had seen this outcome before. Multiversal collapse. An echo of total ruin spiraling from a single spark. A chain reaction that devoured realms one after the other. A void that even she couldn't look into. But this time, came closer, faster, more violent. Doomed, she muttered, the words slipping out like ice. But only one path. She waved her fingers. The thread dissolved. Another one took its place. Then another. She kept searching, flipping through countless realities, scanning for a stable route. One chance. One future. There had to be a timeline where it didn't fall apart. Where it didn't all end. And she knew. If there was anyone who could stop it. Her fingers paused. Her expression shifted. Where is he? Celestial plane. The golden strands of fate dimmed one by one. Aurora stood from her throne. The light behind her blinked, then warped, as if even causality itself hesitated. Her long cloak of starlit mist trailed behind her as she stepped down from the floating dais, boots clicking lightly on the invisible glass that stretched over a cosmos of spiraling lights and fragmenting realities. With a flick of her hand, a circular sigil pulsed outwards, carved not in magic, but in absolute causality. It raced across the multiverse like a flare no entity could ignore. One by one, the chosen responded. First arrived Alfred, flame trailing behind his crimson boots, his hands still warm from whatever battlefield he'd left behind. His coat fluttered open, revealing the silver sigil of the Origin Pantheon across his chest. He didn't smile. Not here. Felt that all the way from our Origin universe, he said, his voice sharp. This isn't just a warning, is it? Aurora didn't answer. She waited. Then came Arya, descending like snow through starlight, pale frost whispering from her hair, her skin glowing faint blue. She landed beside her brother without a word. Her eyes met Aurora's. She saw the tension. She said nothing, just stood still. Next was Alice, a ripple of folded space unfurling like a torn curtain in the air. She stepped through in black boots, arms crossed, violet hair tied back. A playful smile tugged at her lips, but it died the moment she saw Aurora's face. Who messed with your threads this time? Alice asked, voice quiet. Aurora just looked at her. Everyone. Joshua came forth. He didn't walk. He arrived. Reality around him thinned as he emerged, half of his body still wreathed in mathematical symbols and light equations. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept since creation began. I felt the rupture, he said. At first, I thought it was Adam. His voice dropped. It wasn't. No, Aurora said. It wasn't. Jordan arrived silently, not even a breeze behind him. The god of adaptation had no grand entrance. He simply was, his figure blending into the background of the divine hall until his voice carried. If this meeting is happening, he said, then the worst outcome is already possible. Aurora nodded. Finally, Alexandria arrived, no portal, no noise, no flare. Just shadow condensing into form. Her presence was subtle, deliberate. The goddess of free will never walked where the road was paved. She made her own. Her eyes locked on Aurora's. So, she said, it started. The divine hall formed around them, a circle of elevated thrones made of pure will, each one floating above a swirling disk of light connected to their core domain. In the center, Aurora's thread loom still turned slowly, its silver will cracking faintly with every pass. They sat. But the room was not calm. Not this time. Aurora lifted her hand. The loom stopped. In an instant, the space behind her opened, a projection of the multiverse spiraling in slow motion. Dozens of threads pulsed. Most faded. A few screamed. One glowed black. I've watched this for weeks, she began. This path. This outcome. I've turned 1,000 futures inside out, rewound hundreds of timelines, rewoven countless causal nexuses. Her eyes hardened. They all end the same way. The projection zoomed. Worlds shattering. Gods dying. Laws breaking. Life ending. A black ripple like a virus, spreading across every plane of existence. That's not a possibility, Alfred said. That's certainty. No, Aurora corrected, her voice flat. It's design. Joshua sat forward, fingers already moving, tracing runes into space. I've tried locating the point of origin, the causal branch, the moment it started. But it's missing. Someone's hidden it from everything, even from me. That's not supposed to be possible, Arya said coldly. We're not just gods anymore. We're the Origin Pantheon. And yet, Aurora said, voice low, we're blind. The room fell silent. Alice leaned forward. You said there's only one thread that doesn't collapse. Aurora nodded. Yes, one future, one timeline, one outcome where the multiverse doesn't fall. Alfred clenched his fist. And Aurora hesitated. It's not visible anymore. Joshua's brow furrowed. What do you mean? I mean, I could see it once. A path where the being who started all of this was stopped. A timeline held together by one constant. She raised her hand, and the vision shifted again. That constant, Adam. His image appeared. Still, silent. A golden figure standing alone above the worlds. Hands open, power flowing freely. He was always the center, Aurora whispered. In every stable reality, every future that survived, Adam was the anchor. But now, Alexandria said softly. Aurora's voice was colder than space. I can't see him anymore. Everyone went still. Not dead. Not missing. Not hidden. Gone. Outside the vision of a goddess who ruled causality itself. That's not possible, Joshua muttered. It shouldn't be, Arya agreed. But it is, Aurora replied. I've searched all realms, all echoes, all fractured versions of him. There is no presence, no remnant, no divine trail. He has left causality entirely. Then who the hell is behind this? Alfred barked. If it's not Adam. Aurora shook her head. That's the worst part. I don't know. Every future ends with something rising that is not written. Something that shouldn't exist. Then it's not just breaking the rules, Alice muttered. It's rewriting them. Jordan finally stood. Then we have a problem, because the only one who could track that kind of presence isn't with us. Alexandria's eyes darkened. Or worse, he doesn't want to be found. A heavy silence followed. It was Alfred who broke it. So what do we do? Wait around while this virus spreads? Hope Adam shows up in time. No, Aurora said, standing tall. We act. We prepare. We investigate every rupture, every untraceable signal. We follow the broken laws and listen to the place's reality stutters. Because if someone is pulling the strings, they'll pull them again, Alice finished. Exactly, Aurora said. She looked to Alexandria. You're the goddess of free will. You feel shifts before anyone else. I want you monitoring the choices that shouldn't exist. The decisions that no one should be able to make. Alexandria nodded slowly. I'll listen for the screams between choices. Aurora turned to Joshua. You're closest to the laws. If anyone can build a model of where the anomalies are spreading from, it's you. I'm already on it, Joshua said, glyphs spinning in his eyes. Aurora looked to Alfred and Arya. You're our sword and shield. I want both of you tracking every known Tier Omega entity in every nearby universe. If someone powerful enough to tear through realities is out there, we need to know their habits, patterns, flaws. On it, Arya said. Can't wait to hit something. Alfred grinned. Aurora's gaze turned to Alice. You're the last fallback. If the worst happens, and everything begins to fold, I'll start locking the safe timelines, Alice replied. Preserve what I can. Aurora stepped back into the center of the ring. I don't care if this is unwritten. I don't care if causality fails. She looked at all of them. We are the ones who define existence. She closed her eyes for a moment, and then opened them, glowing with burning gold. Let whoever's behind this know, even if Adam's gone, we are not. The threads began to move again. Slow, tense. Every line of fate now tinged with the unknown. But the Pantheon stood, and they would not let the multiverse die quietly. Even if the one who once held it all together was missing. The Endlands stretched into infinity. Ash-colored plains littered with the bones of timelines that never made it. Broken worlds floated like cracked marbles in the black. Some still bleeding flickers of light, others hollowed out and echoing with the memory of what could have been. And in the center of it all, beneath the corpse of a dead sun, Valor stood still. He didn't need to breathe here. Nothing did. This place had long stopped recognizing concepts like life or death. His coat barely moved, even as spatial winds tried to twist around him. They failed. He was beyond such effects now, a shadow without tether. Before him hovered a sphere, a collapsed timeline reduced to a single point of pure memory. Pulsed faintly, red and cold. Valor studied it. The meeting had ended. Aurora's words still echoed across all strands. Let whoever's behind this know, even if Adam's gone, we are not. Valor's lips curved slightly. Bold, he said to no one. Wrong, but bold. He didn't need to see the gods with eyes. He felt them. From here, he could feel every shift in narrative, every clash of causality. He wasn't watching them like a spy. He was observing them like an author scanning a page he already knew the ending to. But still, he wasn't arrogant enough to assume they wouldn't be a problem. He turned. Behind him stood 7 obelisks. Black, taller than mountains, pulsing with runes carved in languages lost before reality began. Each one marked a contingency, a plan for every outcome the Origin Pantheon might try. One glowed dimly, containment for Joshua's law-weaving. Another flickered faint green, fate-scrambling in case Aurora rewrote possibilities. A third, layered in silver light, free will manipulation, designed to distort even Alexandria's judgment. Valor raised his hand and touched the 4th. A pulse. The rune turned blood-red. This one was a failsafe, a reset option if Adam ever returned. He watched the rune closely, still cold, still dormant, but not dead. "Where are you, Adam?" he murmured. "You should have shown by now." He turned back to the floating memory sphere and clenched his hand. The sphere unraveled, showing flashes of Nullbreed, now walking with purpose. The sigil burned on his hand, carving deeper with every breath he took. He'd started moving. Good. The first piece was in place. But the Pantheon, they wouldn't sit still. They were already organizing, plotting, resisting. Valor's hand waved across the black air. From his palm, a smooth screen of translucent darkness bloomed out like black silk. It displayed Aurora, seated once again on her throne, whispering with Alexandria. "She doesn't see me, but she knows something's wrong." The image flickered, Joshua writing a divine algorithm that mapped every multiversal rupture. "You'll never find the origin," Valor said softly. "It was never written." The sky cracked in half, light and smoke and swirling debris raining over the skyline. From the rooftops to the concrete veins below, the city trembled as if it remembered what fear tasted like. And in the center of it all stood Nullbreed. He didn't speak. He didn't gesture. He just walked, boots scraping broken ground, the sigil on his palm glowing like a second heart. Behind him they followed dozens, maybe hundreds, villains who had ruled sectors, ghosts who had once burned cities for sport. All of them now falling in line behind something worse than rage. Purpose. Nullbreed had given them that. Across the battlefield, a crater that stretched 6 blocks wide, the heroes waited. They'd come from all corners. No banners. No symbols. Just names carried by whispers and warning beacons. Velocity, Titan Quake, Wraithlock, Seraphine, Prism Core, Blade Ghost, and more. They stood side by side. No ranks, no formations, just grit. Across from them, villains howled. Energy crackled. Fire split sky. And then, Nullbreed raised his hand. The world screamed. The ground detonated. Not from explosives, from concept. Solidity gave way to entropy and atoms forgot how to stay close. A building melted into data before it could even fall. That was the signal. The war began. Prism Core moved first, splitting her body into 7 color spectrums, each wielding a separate form of light. One lashed forward and cut through a villain's flame barrier with a blade of ultraviolet. Another blinded the sniper atop the scorched parking tower. Beside her, Velocity vanished into blue streaks, appearing and disappearing between enemy lines. For every bullet fired, 10 fists landed. For every fist thrown, 3 ribs cracked. His movements bent physics, but not for show. They were survival, rhythm, precision honed from losing too many friends on missions just like this. Wraithlock collided with a gravity manipulator named Crashtide in midair. Flesh against force, magic against weight. Crashtide slammed the ground, sending up a wave of compressed gravity that folded cars in half. Wraithlock countered by phasing, letting the wave pass through her, and materialized behind him. "You always overplay the entrance. And you always talk too much," she said, snapping his own weapon into reverse polarity. It detonated in his face. Titan Quake met Hammerflesh near the collapsed courthouse. Both were giants, both unyielding. Titan's arms pulsed with tectonic power, each punch like a miniature earthquake. Hammerflesh was slower, his body made of liquid metal layered with impact runes. But when he hit back, he cracked the air like thunder under pressure. "You think this is justice?" Hammerflesh growled, blocking a strike with his shoulder and swinging low. "No," Titan said. "This is payback." He drove his fist into the ground. The street split. Hammerflesh fell into a pit that hadn't been there a moment ago, only to be met midair by a waiting uppercut. 2 streets over, Blade Ghost and Slipcoil fought like dancers. Slipcoil was all slithering motion, her arms like whips of biometal that curved unnaturally, snapping bones from a distance. Blade Ghost was silence, a shimmer of blades wrapped in a cloak of shifting invisibility. She was faster, but Slipcoil didn't need to see her. She felt vibrations, wind currents. The moment Blade Ghost's blade came for her ribs, Slipcoil dropped low, redirected the swing, and slammed an elbow into the assassin's gut. But Blade Ghost didn't flinch. She grinned under the mask and let go of her sword. It detonated in Slipcoil's hand, slicing her arm in half. "I always leave a gift." Seraphine and Emberlord clashed above the city, wings of divine light flaring against living flame. Emberlord had once incinerated an entire biome just to kill one runaway hero. But Seraphine was no novice. Every time his fire touched her shield, it shimmered and reflected. She fired a beam through his wing and followed with a barrage of feathers laced with anti-magic. He screamed, not in pain, in rage. "You can't stop the tide." Seraphine's eyes burned gold. "Then I'll drown with the sky if I have to." They crashed into the clouds, 2 gods falling through heaven in reverse. On the ground, Nullbreed didn't flinch. He moved through the chaos untouched, the sigil on his palm twisting like a living brand. Everything around him warped, heroes tripping over their own abilities, time skipping by seconds where it shouldn't, physics disagreeing with mass. He pointed at a plasma tank. It vanished. He whispered a word, and a hero fell, his name erased from history. That was his gift. Unmaking. 3 low-tier heroes charged him anyway, rookies with more heart than experience. Nullbreed turned to them. They froze, not from fear, from the realization that he had looked at them and reality had hesitated. "I'll let you run," he said softly. 1 did, 2 didn't. He waved once, and they were gone. Not dead, just removed. From the world, from memory, from consequence. Elsewhere in the war zone, 2 heroes cut through the chaos like blades of instinct and precision, Vesper and Kato. Vesper wore light armor inscribed with gravity seals, each step coiling space beneath her boots. She didn't walk. She glided, slingshotting between enemies using controlled gravity bursts, her daggers carving perfect lines into armored limbs. Beside her, Kato moved differently, slower, but deliberate. His gift wasn't speed, it was reaction. Perfect prediction. His mind read kinetic patterns like music, letting him dodge plasma blasts before they were fired. A hulking villain, Kormal, charged them both, a warhammer fused to his mechanical spine, hydraulic systems hissing. His roar shook the block. Vesper flipped into the air, flicked a disc beneath him, and snapped gravity upward. Kormal's feet lost the ground. Kato was already mid-motion. He twisted under the floating body and jabbed a compact burst emitter into his side. It detonated with a concussive boom. Kormal hit the pavement, cratered, didn't get up. Vesper landed beside him. "Third one today." Kato nodded, sweat beading on his brow. "Keep going. They're not stopping." Farther west, a trio of vigilantes held the shattered metro line. Mira, Reese, and Olin. Mira with void sight. Her eyes saw through time by fractions, letting her predict every motion a heartbeat before it happened. Reese, her partner, was a feral kinetic. Every hit he took became momentum stored in his body. And Olin, a rune singer, laced his voice with binding glyphs, making his chants weave through enemy defenses. They faced off against Grudgepack, a villain squad of 4, all X-Vault turned mercenaries. "Take their eyes first," Mira said calmly. Reese nodded and charged. the leader of Grudgepack, Kravix, fired bolts of distortion from a modified gauntlet. They missed intentionally. The blast refracted and struck from behind. But Reese didn't flinch. It hit his back, and the energy rebounded, transferred straight to his fists. He slammed the ground. A kinetic shockwave burst from his body, toppling half the squad. Olin's voice came next. A deep hum, followed by 4 cascading tones that echoed through the debris. The enemy's limbs locked. Mira flicked a knife across their throats. Not to kill, but to blind their vision with neurostatic powder. "No more eyes," she said. In the sky above, the elite hero Team Skyvale clashed with a villain air formation called the Marauders. Jet streams lit up the stratosphere. Sonic blades hissed through cloud banks. One Marauder screamed toward the ground, dual-wing blades slicing the wind, heading straight for civilians hiding in the metro ruins. But Skyvale's anchor, Noxus, intercepted, wings of solid light trailing behind her. Her spear hit the Marauder's wing edge-on, cleaving the airframe in two. Drop confirmed. Her voice rang through the comms. From below, another hero, Brig, launched a tether line and pulled down the wreckage before it crushed anyone. 3 more incoming, he shouted. Skyvale repositioned, falling into arrowhead formation, leaving trails of protective wind over the ground teams below. On the ground, close to the city's heart, a tank-like villain called Fossicor moved through the ruins like an earthquake with legs. Armor forged from stone meld, immune to direct force, and pulsing with an internal magma core. 3 heroes cornered him: Reyna, Casper, and Bolt. Reyna controlled crystal resonance. She could shift mineral density and control it through harmonic vibration. Casper was a neural field manipulator, short-circuiting enemy focus. Bolt? Speed incarnate. The fastest thing still willing to call himself human. Fossicor roared, molten spikes launching from his back. Reyna lifted a hand, creating a dome of amethyst that reflected the heat. Casper locked eyes with the brute and pulsed a mental burst. Fossicor staggered, brain confused by false inputs. His own arms felt like enemies. Bolt zipped in, hands glowing with static, and began delivering strikes fast enough to carve grooves in the villain's armor. Reyna's crystals erupted from the cracks. Fossicor collapsed, groaning. Lava oozed from his mouth. Above the chaos, old ruins of a cathedral served as the high ground. That's where Cameron stood, sniper, engineer, tactician. She didn't move much. She didn't have to. Every shot she took dropped a villain. Not dead, tranquilized, tagged, detained. She worked with clean lines and clear kills. Behind her, her construct, a titanium gorilla called Gage, roared down the cliffside, taking on 3 powered brutes with 0 fear. "They'll flank," said Cameron. "I got them," said Gage, smashing one into a wall. The battle went on. Street to street, rooftop to rooftop, and in the heart of it, Nullbreed. He didn't fight. Not in the way they did. He walked and reality bled around him. One hero, a cloaking specialist named Vale, tried to sneak close. His gift? Invisibility across senses. Not just sight. Sound, smell, weight erased. He got within 10 feet of Nullbreed. Then, Nullbreed turned. "I can see your choices," he said. Vale stopped. His knees bent. Blood dripped from his ears. Then he vanished. Not died. Erased. Nullbreed kept walking. Heroes pulled back. But for every step they lost, a new team formed. Across the battlefield, the last organized squad charged in. They were known only as the Cadre. Mid-tier heroes, not the strongest, but they fought together like soldiers. Their leader, a woman named Bryn, wielded magnetism and momentum. She pulled iron from the ground, reshaped it into chains, and hurled them like bullets. Beside her, Kaze, a windblade user who walked on air, and Misha, an explosive alchemist who threw volatile chemical sigils like they were cards. They charged Nullbreed. Together, Bryn bound his arms. Misha exploded sigils across his back. Kaze struck his chest with a pressure wave strong enough to flatten a jet. Smoke filled the plaza. Cameron locked her sight on the crater. No reading. No heat signature. Then, a hand reached through the smoke and pulled Bryn into the air. Nullbreed's palm glowed. Her chains liquefied. Kaze vanished next. Not erased. Just relocated. Into the sky. Misha screamed. His bombs turned to sand in his hands. Nullbreed spoke. "You're brave." Then snapped his fingers. Time staggered. A wave of black pulse rolled outward. And in that instant 50 fighters dropped. Not dead, but removed. As if they had never stepped into this fight. The others stared. Afraid now. Some started falling back. Some gritted their teeth and charged again. But in the center of it all, Nullbreed stood. Alone. Still smiling. And somewhere far above the battlefield, a pulse echoed across the stars. Someone was watching. But not interfering. Not yet. The rain came down sideways now, ash, not water. Nullbreed stood at the heart of what used to be a plaza. His boots half sunk into a crater where the world had caved in just trying to resist him. Rubble floated midair, trapped in his passive field of distortion. Every breath he took rewrote the tension in space around him. Every blink unraveled laws that once held this city together. And the heroes, they were running out. Scattered across the broken streets, the few who could still stand regrouped. Prism Core limped, dragging 2 of her fractured light clones back toward cover. Titan Quake's left shoulder was shattered. His arm hung useless as he tried to lift a slab off a wounded teammate. The sky crackled again. But this time not thunder. It was Nullbreed. He raised a single hand and the storm obeyed. Black lightning ripped through the clouds, arcing downward in a web of destruction. It didn't strike, it peeled. Entire chunks of the city folded upward into the sky like they were made of fabric, not steel and concrete. Seraphine flared up from the ruins, wings broken but burning brighter than ever. She hurled a divine lance through the maelstrom, the tip spiraling with the last of her stored energy. Nullbreed caught it, with 2 fingers, and crushed it into stardust. She stared in horror. "You should have prayed harder," he said, then vanished. Seraphine spun, too late. He reappeared behind her, drove his hand into her spine, and unmade the energy within. Her glow flickered, then died. She hit the ground like a falling comet. Nullbreed kept moving. He didn't run, didn't charge. He just walked, and everything in his path became less real. Mira saw him coming. Her void sight blurred. She tried to shout, warn Reese, Olin, anyone. But her vision collapsed into noise. Her power couldn't comprehend him anymore. He was outside the range of what made sense. Olin raised his voice again, singing a glyph of disruption. The air buzzed, symbols burned into wind. His strongest seal. Nullbreed snapped his fingers. The sound caught in Olin's throat. The glyph died unfinished. Olin dropped, throat smoking, voice stolen. Reese roared, took the pain of watching his squad fall and stored it. Every nerve that screamed only added to the kinetic stockpile building in his limbs. He launched, fist glowing, crater forming beneath his boots. He landed a blow square in Nullbreed's face. A shockwave tore through 3 blocks. Buildings crumbled. Skyscrapers leaned. Reese grinned until he saw Nullbreed still standing. Not even a bruise. "You hit hard," Nullbreed said, then placed a single finger to Reese's chest, and turned off his stored kinetic energy like a switch. Reese collapsed, unconscious. Vesper tried next, warping gravity, spinning shards of the battlefield into a cyclone. She dove into the eye of it, daggers spinning. Nullbreed let her. He stood there as her blades carved toward him, only for the cyclone to freeze midair. Vesper hovered inches away, paralyzed. Nullbreed whispered, "Fall." The gravity storm inverted. It slammed Vesper into the earth so hard the crater caved in and buried her. Cameron tried to snipe from afar. Her scope caught his head. She squeezed the trigger, only to find the bullet had never loaded. She blinked. Her weapon dissolved in her hands. "Gage, fall back!" she shouted. Her titanium gorilla turned, only to be frozen mid-step. Nullbreed stared at it from across the battlefield. "You're artificial," he murmured. You don't belong. Gage exploded into sparks. Cameron screamed. She turned to run, only to find the building under her feet unraveling. Nullbreed wasn't chasing her. He was removing her escape routes, one by one, and still some fought. Casper sprinted through the alley, pulse emitters glowing on both hands. He passed Reyna, who pulled a line of crystal resonance from a wrecked tram line and restructured it into a spear. They coordinated fast, clean, synchronized. Casper flashed left, firing neurobursts into Nullbreed's flank. Reyna struck right, lobbing the spear from a rooftop. It hit straight through Nullbreed's back. He paused, looked down, then pulled the spear through himself, breaking it in half. You should have aimed for each other, he said, and clapped. Once. The shockwave didn't travel outwards. It inverted. It slammed inward on them like the world folded into a ball. They screamed and vanished. Bolt saw it all. He moved, faster than sound, faster than light. His feet skipped timelines. He tore through broken alleys and shattered air, creating sonic tunnels through the chaos. His goal? Nullbreed. One hit. One final, maximum speed hit. He built up speed. His body started to burn from friction. Skin peeled. Didn't matter. He reached terminal velocity and hit. The force shattered sound. But Nullbreed didn't fall. He tilted slightly, turned his head. Barely above time, he said, and reversed Bolt's motion. The speedster flew backward, rewound like tape, until he was a smear on a wall he hadn't touched yet. Nullbreed kept walking. He was nearing the final line now. The cadre had regrouped, those who hadn't fallen. Bryn, Kaze, Misha, and two more, Ezra, who could compress molecular mass, and Toma, who summoned spectral beasts from his heartbeat. They surrounded him. They didn't talk. They struck. Kaze came first, blades of wind spiraling like drills. Ezra collapsed space with a hand clap, shoving a black hole into Nullbreed's path. Misha detonated sigils that had taken hours to prepare. Toma roared, summoning an ethereal lion twice the size of a bus, its roar cracking glass half a mile away. And Bryn pulled every magnetic field in a 5-mile radius into a single pulse, hurling Nullbreed into the heart of their killbox. The attacks hit, all of them, and the plaza became a crater of dust. Nothing moved. Silence. Then, a single step. Nullbreed walked out of the crater, coated in burns, scratched, but smiling. You're the best they had. He raised his hand. The sigil glowed. The cadre readied one final stand. But it wasn't an attack. It was a pulse. Time fractured. Their memories bled out of their ears. And Nullbreed stole their futures. They dropped. Not dead. Not erased. But broken. Nullbreed stood alone again. No music. No speeches. Just war, silent and clean. And far away, in the Endlands, Valor watched through folded dimensions. Still waiting. Still watching. Still wondering where Adam was. Because Nullbreed had just done the impossible. And no god came to stop him. Not this time. The wind didn't blow anymore. Coward. The city had no skyline now. Just jagged wounds of steel, half-burned clouds, and floating debris that circled Nullbreed like he was the center of a dying planet. He moved forward through the wreckage of heroes, through melted buildings and blood-soaked asphalt. He passed statues made of ash, remnants of defenders frozen mid-scream. There were no screams now, just silence. A twisted silence that begged for someone, anyone, to stop what walked like a man but moved like the end of everything. Nullbreed raised his hand again. A small gesture. Simple. But the sky didn't think so. A pulse erupted. Reality stretched. And from the clouds, entire storms fell. Not rain, not thunder, but broken pieces of what could have been. Fragments of possible timelines shattered as they hit the ground. Every footstep Nullbreed took pulled at the foundation of the world. A lone survivor, Brig, crawled from beneath a collapsed tunnel. One eye swollen shut, his shoulder crushed, his tether line broken. But he stood, barely. He looked at Nullbreed, raised a broken blade. said nothing, then charged. Nullbreed stopped, looked at him like a curious child watching a fly try to carry a boulder. He didn't even raise a hand, just blinked. Briggs stopped mid-run, froze, his sword dissolved, his muscles locked. Then his skin turned to static. He fell, twitching. Not dead, not alive, just paused. Forever. Nullbreed sighed. Even time gets tired. Then he turned toward what remained of the city's core. The vault, the underground system that once held the worst villains alive, was buried there. Heroes had tried to defend it. The Cadre, Skyvale, Myra's squad, Vesper's strike unit. Tried. Now it was just rubble. Nullbreed walked to it, cracking the air with every step. He lifted a single finger, pointed, and the ruins unfolded like a page being turned. Stone rising and metal sliding outward, clearing a way to the vault's ancient core. That's when the sound hit, like wind snapping back into place. A single voice echoed across the war zone. Did someone forget to put a leash on this guy? Nullbreed stopped, looked up, then to the left, and there, standing on the edge of a broken tower that shouldn't have been able to hold anyone, was him, Adam, but not as a god, not as a king, not as the one who birthed realities. Just Null. Black hoodie, loose pants, hands in his pockets, hair slightly messy like he overslept, a dumb grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. Nullbreed narrowed his eyes. You shouldn't be here. Adam tilted his head. Buddy, you shouldn't be here. This is my multiverse. You're like bad furniture I didn't order. The wind shifted. Nullbreed raised his hand. His sigil sparked. Adam's grin faded. Just a bit. He stepped off the ledge. Fell. And the moment his foot touched ground, the world snapped back into place. Everything paused. Nullbreed flinched. Rubble stopped floating. The dead air stirred, because in that instant even causality recognized who had returned. Null walked forward, calm. Each step rethreaded fate. Each breath made broken matter pull back into shape. Nullbreed stared. I removed you. You misplaced me, Adam replied. Happens to the best of us. I mean, I once lost my shoes in another dimension for a week. Nullbreed's eyes glowed. He struck. A slash of pure erasure, time, energy, memory, cut toward Adam. Adam didn't dodge. He raised one hand. Reality override. Causal anchor. The beam hit and stopped, like it had just remembered it wasn't allowed to do that anymore. Fizzled. Nullbreed blinked. Impossible. Yeah, I get that a lot. And then, Adam vanished. Nullbreed spun only to get decked across the jaw. One punch. One hit, but it sent him flying through 3 city blocks, tearing apart buildings and smashing through a subway line before hitting ground hard enough to cause a localized earthquake. Adam appeared beside him, hands still in his hoodie pockets. I was hoping for more of a warm-up, he muttered. Nullbreed rose, wiping blood from his lip. You cannot exist outside the laws. I broke them. I rewrote everything. Adam stepped forward. Then write this down. Singularity pressure. Collapse mode on. A dome of golden pressure dropped onto the field. Gravity inverted. Time lagged. Light bent. Nullbreed tried to move. His foot sank a meter deep into compressed probability. Adam walked up slowly. Let's see how many rules you really broke. Nullbreed roared. Fired off 3 pulses at once. 1 to erase mass, 1 to steal names, 1 to fracture meaning itself. Adam batted all 3 aside with a flick, then grinned, and punched him in the gut so hard. The sky cracked. Nullbreed flew upward, his body breaking through 3 cloud layers before Adam appeared above him. 0 step, temporal negation blink. He appeared upside down and heel-kicked Nullbreed back toward the city. Boom! The ground cratered again. Adam landed beside the wreck. Nullbreed lay there, gasping. His distortion field was broken. His sigil flickered. I killed 50 heroes, he growled. I erased 100 more. You're just one. Adam tilted his head. Exactly. One. He held out his palm. and the air obeyed. A storm of golden threads surged out, rewriting the battlefield, pulling erased names back into memory, reversing the broken fates. Heroes stirred in their sleep. Eyes opened. Nullbreed stared. No, that's not possible. Adam's voice cut him off. I'm not possible. And then, he punched him again. And this time, Nullbreed didn't get up. The sigil dimmed. His form flickered. His distortion collapsed. Adam stood over him, breathing softly, then smiled. Next time you borrow someone's apocalypse, at least leave a tip. And far, far away, in the Endlands, Valor watched. And for the first time in existence, he felt something like hesitation, because Adam wasn't just back. He knew now. Adam had seen him, felt him, and he was coming. But Valor didn't flinch, didn't move. He wasn't worried. Not yet. Facing Adam now wasn't part of the plan. Not when the board wasn't set. Not when the others hadn't awakened. No, this wasn't the time for a final clash. This was still the setup. And Valor had much more to put in place. Let Adam come. Let him chase shadows. Because when they met again, it wouldn't be on Adam's terms. The dust settled. Slowly, like the world was holding its breath after a scream. Adam stood over Nullbreed's flickering form. The giant lay broken, his dark energy sputtering out like a dying campfire. That weird, static crackle around him was fading. Adam didn't look triumphant. He looked tired, like he'd just finished moving heavy boxes. He shoved his hands back into his hoodie pockets and sighed, a puff of air disturbing the settling ash around his feet. Crunch. He turned. Brig lay where he'd fallen, frozen mid-twitch, skin still flickering with that unnatural static. Adam walked over, crouching beside him. He tilted his head, studying the frozen survivor. No pity, just assessment, like checking a broken appliance. He reached out, not with his hand exactly, more like the air around his fingers shifted, touched the static field clinging to Brig. Reality override. Temporal reset. Localized. The static snapped like a broken TV signal. Brig gasped, a ragged, painful sound. His one good eye flew open, wide and terrified. He jerked, scrambling back on his elbows, his crushed shoulders screaming in protest. He looked frantically from Adam to the fallen Nullbreed, then back to Adam, confusion warring with terror. You stopped him, Brig choked out, voice raw. Adam straightened up, took a nap, woke up late. You know how it is. He gestured vaguely at Brig's mangled form. Should probably get that looked at. Looks messy. Before Brig could stammer a reply, other sounds started cutting through the heavy silence. A groan from beneath a pile of twisted girders. A cough from under a slab of concrete. The faint, rhythmic beep of a damaged tether line struggling to reboot. Across the ruined plaza, near the mangled remains of Myra's squad insignia, a figure stirred. Skyvale. Her once gleaming armor was cracked and scorched black. She pushed herself up on one elbow, coughing up dust and blood. Her eyes, dazed, scanned the devastation. They landed on Adam. Recognition flickered, then disbelief. Adam? Her voice was barely a whisper, rough as gravel. How? Adam just shrugged. Got bored of wherever he stuffed me. Place had terrible room service. He turned, looking towards the massive crater where the vault's entrance had been. The ruins Adam had unfolded still hung in the air, defying gravity, revealing a dark, gaping maw leading deep underground. He took a step towards it. Thump. Another survivor, Vesper, maybe, hard to tell under the grime and blood, stumbled out from behind a fallen statue made of ash. He saw Nullbreed down, saw Adam. His eyes widened. Null? You came back. Adam paused, glancing back. Seemed like the thing to do. Place was getting wrecked. He looked past Vesper, at the stirring figures, the groans becoming whimpers, then weak cries. Life was stubbornly pushing back through the cracks. Looks like cleanups needed. You guys got this. He didn't wait for an answer. He just walked towards the exposed vault entrance, the massive slabs of stone and metal still hovering unnaturally. The air crackled faintly around him, reality stitching itself back together in his wake, leaving trails of golden light that faded as quickly as they appeared. Skyvale pushed herself fully upright, wincing. She watched him go, a strange mix of relief and deep unease warring inside her. He was back, but the way he moved, the casual power, felt different, sharper, less like a god playing human, more like something else entirely. The Endlands. Vaylor watched the scene unfold not on a screen, but in the swirling, chaotic essence of the space between spaces. He saw Adam flick Nullbreed aside like a bug. He saw the golden threads pull erased heroes back from the brink. He saw Adam walk towards the vault without a backward glance. The shadowy figure didn't move. The Endlands themselves seemed to hold their breath. The chaotic storms momentarily stilled. He knows. The thought wasn't fear. It was recalibration. A variable had snapped back onto the board with far more force than anticipated. Adam hadn't just returned. He'd returned aware. Aware of Vaylor's presence, his meddling. That punch hadn't just knocked Nullbreed down. It had been a message. A calling card thrown right into the Endlands. Vaylor's form shifted, like dark smoke coiling. A low hum resonated through the void, the sound of ancient, patient gears turning. Let him come. The thought was cold, deliberate. Let him chase the echoes. Facing Adam now? Pointless. Like trying to dam a tsunami with bare hands. Nullbreed had been a test. A scalpel probing the wound Adam left behind. He'd revealed weaknesses, exposed fractures in the multiverse's defenses, and he'd confirmed Adam's terrifying capacity to simply rewrite the damage. Good. Data was valuable. Vaylor turned his gaze away from the ruined city, from the figure disappearing into the exposed vault. He looked deeper, into the swirling chaos of the Endlands. Other shapes stirred in the primordial dark. Vaster, older, slumbering titans of entropy and negation. The board isn't set, Vaylor mused, the hum intensifying. The others still dream. Adam was coming. He would follow the trail Nullbreed left, the psychic scars, the broken threads of fate. He would hunt. He would rage. He would try to stop the inevitable. Chase your shadows, Adam, Vaylor thought, a dark amusement flickering in the void. Run yourself ragged trying to plug the leaks in a sinking ship. Because when Vaylor finally stepped onto the field, when the true pieces awoke, it wouldn't be Adam setting the rules. It would be the end of the game entirely. Vaylor's form dissolved further, retreating into the deeper darkness, a silent predator withdrawing into its lair, leaving only the chilling echo of its intent hanging in the chaotic void. The hunt was on, but the hunter was still gathering his pack. Vault HQ. The heavy silence inside the vault core pressed in like wet cement. Only the faint drip, drip, of condensation from the exposed, twisted pipes overhead broke it. Adam stood where Vesper had collapsed, her final word hanging in the charged air. Architect. He didn't move for a second. Just looked down at her broken form, the flicker of her tether line casting weak blue light on her pale face. He hadn't just pulled her back from Nullbreed's temporal stasis. He'd patched her together enough to speak, pouring raw causality into her shredded body like jumper cables on a dead engine. It wasn't healing, not really. Just postponing the inevitable crash. Architect, huh? Adam murmured, finally crouching beside her. He didn't touch her again. The effort it took to stabilize her this much was like holding back a collapsing dam with his bare hands. Sounds like a pretentious jerk. His gaze lifted, scanning the cavernous chamber. The vault's core wasn't just broken. It was gutted. Nullbreed hadn't just smashed it open. He'd carved it apart with pure negation. Twisted spires of dark, non-reflective metal reached towards the ceiling like the ribs of a colossal beast. Scorch marks, deep and unnatural, marred every surface, not fire, but the absence of matter. And scattered everywhere, remnants, not just debris, personal effects. A cracked visor that belonged to Skyvale's lieutenant. A half-melted energy gauntlet from Myra's signature gear. A scorched piece of fabric with Vesper's squad insignia still faintly visible. They lay where their owners had fallen, defending this hole in the ground against something that shouldn't have been possible. Adam stood up slowly. The air crackled faintly around him, a low hum of reality knitting itself back together in his immediate vicinity. He walked towards the center of the chamber, where the main containment field generator should have been. Now it was just a gaping pit, ringed by jagged, warped metal. He stopped at the edge, peered down, not into darkness, but into a swirling, chaotic nothing, like staring into static on an old TV, but deep enough to make your soul itch. Residual energy, Nullbreed's signature erasure, pulsed weakly from it. Took the whole party with you when you left, didn't you? Adam muttered at the pit. Rude. He knelt, pressing his palm flat against the cold, scored floor near the edge. Not physically. More like connecting. Golden light, faint but intense, spiderwebbed out from his touch, seeping into the metal and stone. Reality override. Temporal echo scan. Images flickered behind Adam's eyes, fragmented and chaotic. Vesper and her squad, backs to the core, firing desperately into a wave of pure distortion. Their energy bolts fizzled out inches from Nullbreed's advancing form. Nullbreed, not just smashing, but unmaking. His touch dissolved reinforced alloy like sugar in water. Heroes lunged, only to freeze mid-strike, their forms dissolving into static before crumbling to ash. A flash of something else. Not Nullbreed. A flicker of intricate, impossible geometry woven into the erasure field for a split second. Like a blueprint made of pure void. Then gone. Vesper, lunging not at Nullbreed, but past him, towards a secondary console. Her hand slamming down on a sequence of controls just as the distortion wave hit her. A final, desperate act. A containment purge? A message burst? The echo fractured. Adam pulled his hand back. The golden light vanished. His expression was unreadable. Purged the containment logs, he said quietly. Tried to send a flare. Into the blind eternities. Risky play, Vesper. He looked back at her unconscious form. Guess that's where architect came from. A low groan echoed through the chamber. Not from Vesper. From the pit itself. The chaotic static swirled faster, pulsing with a sickly, dark light. Right, Adam sighed, standing up. Left the back door open too. Classy. He raised his hand, fingers spread. Golden light gathered, forming intricate, shifting runes in the air before him. Not just power rules. Laws of physics rewritten on the fly. Singularity command. Causal lock tier 9. The golden runes shot forward, slamming into the swirling chaos of the pit. Instead of an explosion, there was a sound like a giant cosmic click. The chaotic static froze, hardened, sealed over like obsidian glass. The sickly light dimmed, contained. Temporary patch? Adam muttered, dusting his hands off on his hoodie. Better than nothing. He turned, his eyes scanning the ruined chamber one last time. They lingered on Vesper. He couldn't carry her out. Not without risking the fragile stasis he'd imposed. And he couldn't stay. The air here still tasted of Nullbreed's erasure, and underneath it, something colder, older. Help's coming, he said, though she couldn't hear. Try not to die before they get here. Seriously, the paperwork sucks. He shoved his hands back into his pockets. The air around him shimmered, reality bending like heat haze. Zero step, spatial fold. He stepped forward and vanished. Not with a bang, but a soft pop of displaced air. The Endlands. Adam emerged into the Endlands like a tear in silk. One step, and the world around him changed. He didn't appear with fanfare. No shockwave. No divine chorus. Just a flicker in space, and he was there, standing in the void between existence and unmaking. The Endlands stretched forever in all directions. No ground, no sky, just twisted remnants of half-formed worlds stitched together like nightmares. Floating islands made of bone and ash. skies that bled colors that didn't exist, rivers of frozen time spiraling through torn gravity wells. The laws of reality here were loose. Adam exhaled. The breath came out like steam, even though there was no air. He took a few steps forward, boots crunching against something that looked like black crystal and sounded like glass. The ground beneath his feet shifted constantly, never settling, never solid. He didn't care. He wasn't here to enjoy the sights. He could feel it. The aftertaste of Nullbreed's energy still lingered. Faint, but unmistakable. It was rooted here, not just birthed here, connected, anchored. The Endlands had fed it. Someone had fed it. Someone was watching. Adam looked up. No one was there, but he felt it, like a pressure behind his eyes. A gaze that wasn't tied to a face. Cold, calculated, detached. It had been watching him since he arrived. Not hiding, just gone now. Recently, he cracked his neck, rolled his shoulders, then lifted a single hand. Let's flush the place. Singularity command. Exothermic Genesis, Tier 8. A small sphere of golden fire snapped into existence above his palm. Pulsed once, then dropped. The moment it touched the shifting ground, the entire plane ignited. No explosion, no roar, just light, raw, absolute. The Endlands screamed in silence. Entire zones collapsed, folded, or melted outright. Islands shattered. Time rivers boiled. The black mist tried to resist, then evaporated. Flames danced across impossible skies, cutting clean through the bones of dead gods and the sinew of ruined dimensions. The rules of reality wailed as Adam rewrote them on the fly. He walked through the storm, step after step. Every footfall scorched a crater. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even hunting. He was announcing. Whoever was watching, whoever had built Nullbreed, they needed to know. You don't poke Adam dark. Not unless you want to be found. Override state. Causal burn active. His aura shimmered gold. Even the terrain near him tried to escape, reality itself bending to avoid direct contact. He moved like a walking black hole with a golden edge, unraveling the Endlands bit by bit. He saw broken constructs, half-finished weapons embedded in floating debris, failures left behind. He passed a monument of glass faces, all screaming without sound. He blinked and saw entire civilizations compressed into a teardrop hanging midair. The teardrop shattered as he walked past. Still no sign of whoever watched him. But the energy trail from Nullbreed pulsed deeper. Further in. He followed. Half an hour later, though time didn't mean much here, he stopped. The flames behind him had not gone out. They kept burning across the landscape, reducing the Endlands to cinders. But ahead, silence. Clearing. Natural in a place that shouldn't have one. A perfectly round crater surrounded by floating shards of memory. Frozen moments from broken timelines. They hung like glass photos. A child laughing, a god falling, a sun going black, all stilled mid-frame. In the center, a single black spike. Pulsed. Once. Weak. But not dead. The last fragment of Nullbreed's true anchor. Adam approached slowly. He knelt, pressed a hand to the spike. Echo thread detected. Origin unknown. Would you like to trace? Of course, he muttered. Golden threads spiderwebbed out from the spike, tracing energy back in impossible directions, curving through non-space, slicing across timelines, looping into themselves. Most broke off, blocked, cut, but one trail remained. Thin, recent, fresh. He stared at it, then rose. So you ran. His voice echoed across the Endlands like thunder muffled by velvet. Smart. He raised his hand. No spell this time, no command. Just fingers. He snapped. And the rest of the Endlands burned. Not with fire, with absence. The whole plane folded in on itself, collapsing into a gold-black singularity. Memory matter meaning gone. Wiped clean. Nullbreed's last trace, burned out of the root. Adam didn't flinch as the destruction swallowed everything behind him. He turned toward the lingering thread. Your energy smells like cheap perfume and arrogance, he said softly, then vanished. Elsewhere, Valor watched from the edge of a dead system, far from the Endlands now. His shape was thin, just a whisper of black thought hanging in the vacuum between stars. He had watched. He had felt it. The fury, the rewriting, the way Adam had scorched not just the terrain, but the very rules of the Endlands. He said nothing, but if he had lips he might have smiled. The Predator was awake. Good. But Valor had never planned to fight him there. That was just the first wound. The first cut to remind Adam he could still bleed. The others were coming. The world would fall in stages. And the next trap was already being laid. Back with Adam. He emerged from fold space in a shattered belt of reality orbiting a black hole. There were ruins here. Massive gears the size of cities, once part of a celestial engine now long dead. The thread led here. He stood in silence. There was no enemy, no signature, but the trail had ended. He knew the move. Pull him forward. Test him. Retreat. Repeat. Adam exhaled through his nose. Still a coward, he muttered, then walked across the shattered stars, golden light trailing behind him like wings that didn't need form. Wherever the next battle waited, he'd find it. Even if it meant rewriting the universe again to do it. Adam floated high above the fractured remains of the Endlands. Check my virtual library empire, MV1LEMP1YR, for the latest updates. Nothing here was stable anymore. The sky was a scar, bleeding faint static where the sun should have been. The rivers of time had dried into dead cracks, hanging in the air like broken veins. The once warped, chaotic terrain was now quiet, too quiet, and that's what bothered him. Even after he scorched half of it, the scent lingered. Not Nullbreed, not even Valor, just the echo of intention, plan with steps, a design. This place could still be used again. Adam stared down at the vast fields of warped space, entire continents of failed realities. Twisted, silent, and waiting. He could almost feel them listening, watching, not alive, but remembering. He hated places that remembered. He pulled his hood back, then raised both hands slowly, like stretching before a long job. Let's finish it. He didn't chant. No spell circles. No announcement. Just two words in a whisper that moved through all layers of reality like a crack splitting a mirror. Erase everything. The universe around him shuddered. Then the laws broke. Not shattered, unwritten. The ground didn't collapse. It stopped existing. The skies didn't fall. They blinked out one color at a time. The Endlands didn't explode. They were removed, like scratching a name off a list. A ripple of golden black light expanded outward from his core. Not flame, not light, just raw instruction. Every layer of reality that touched it obeyed. Erase, erase, erase. Islands that had survived for eons were gone in the blink of an eye. Dimensions nested inside half-finished realms folded inward and vanished. Time itself curled like burning paper, trying to escape before it, too, was erased. And still Adam stood there, hands at his side, breathing slow, focused. One ripple passed. Then another. The third one cracked the last spine of the Endlands. Entire space folds began screaming. They twisted inwards like plastic in a microwave, edges curling, ends fusing. Memory pools, liquid fragments of forgotten timelines, boiled, flashed white, and disappeared. The final scream wasn't sound. It was absence. The last voice of a place that was never meant to be heard again. Adam lowered his arms. Below him, nothing remained. Not a crater. Not a mark. Just clean, blank void. Even the golden glow around his feet dimmed. He hovered there, breathing out slowly as the energy returned to him. His coat settled. The universe stopped screaming. And then, a voice. So, I guess you're not dead after all. Adam turned his head slightly. From a ripple in the fold space behind him, a soft gust of chilled wind brushed across the void. It bent around him, then parted to reveal a girl. Slim, white hair falling over one side of her face, golden eyes like his, dressed in a long coat that billowed even though there was no air. Arya, his little sister. She stepped forward, boots touching nothing, and still leaving light footprints in the void. "You really burned it," she said, crossing her arms. "Like all of it. The Endlands are just gone." Adam looked forward again. "Had to." Arya walked beside him, standing shoulder to shoulder. They both stared at the blank space where a nightmare had once lived. "I felt it from 3 realities away," she muttered. "Aurora did too." He didn't respond. "She's looking for you." Still nothing. Arya leaned a bit, glancing up at his profile. "You gonna ignore me the whole time or just until the guilt kicks in?" "I don't feel guilty," Adam said. "Sure. I don't." "You will," she said quietly. "Eventually." A pause. Then she added, "She's scared." Adam blinked. "Aurora." "Yeah, that Aurora. Seer of a trillion paths, blah blah blah. She's rattled." "Why?" "Because the multiverse needs you." Arya floated beside him, arms crossed. Her golden eyes narrowed with something between annoyance and concern. "Because the multiverse needs you." Adam's gaze didn't shift. He just stared out into the clean, dead void where the Endlands used to breathe, where gods had wept, where timelines had bled, where something had hidden. Arya's voice softened. Aurora's vision didn't just stop with you vanishing. She saw past that. Adam's jaw tensed slightly. What did she see? Arya hesitated. The end. He turned now slowly, his eyes locked onto hers. "No," she said before he could speak again. "Not a world. Not a realm. Everything. All of it. Every realm, every fold, every root thread of reality. Burned. Collapsed. Rewritten into something else." Adam didn't blink. "A singularity event?" "No. Worse." Arya swallowed, lowering her voice like the words themselves carried weight. "Something replacing us." Adam looked away again. She continued. "Aurora's seen destruction before. Ends. Resets. But this wasn't natural. It wasn't war or gods or an overload of systems. It was deliberate, built, set in motion and left to bloom." She floated in front of him now, stepping into his line of sight. "And the only person who stood in its way?" Adam raised his eyes. "You." He said nothing. "You broke the vision, Adam," Arya said. "Your presence glitched it out. Not even time wanted to record it when you stepped in. That's never happened before." He finally spoke. Quiet. Certain. "I know." Arya's brows furrowed. "You? What?" "I know," Adam repeated, voice still low. "That's why I came here." Arya blinked, confused. "You came to the Endlands because of the vision?" "No," Adam replied. "I came because this is where it starts." He turned back to the vast nothing. This place was a wound, the kind that festered. It wasn't just broken, it was fed, warped, saturated with rules that didn't belong to this multiverse. "You're saying..." Arya trailed off. "I felt it when Nullbreed showed up. He was powerful, yeah, fast, smart. But he didn't fit, you could smell it on him. He wasn't grown here. He wasn't even born. He was engineered." "Engineered?" she repeated. "By who?" Adam's voice went cold. "I don't know." Arya floated beside him again, tone cautious. "You traced the anchor, didn't you? Nullbreed's last echo." "I did," he said. "And it led here, to someone who didn't want to be found, who doesn't have a name. But, you think they're responsible?" "I know they are," Adam said, "because when I touched the thread, it didn't just trace back to Nullbreed." He raised a hand. Golden light sparked from his fingers, tiny filaments pulsing out like veins. One strand, darker than the others, glowed with a faint hum. "This trail goes further," Adam said. "Deeper than just Nullbreed, deeper than anything Aurora saw. But it hides itself every time I push forward." "You think it's masking itself from you?" Arya asked. "No. It's not hiding from me," Adam said. It's hiding because of me. Arya stared at the black thread of energy, watching it twitch like a living nerve. And nobody knows who it is? No one, Adam said. Not you. Not Aurora. Not even me. Then how do we stop it? Adam looked at her, eyes sharp. By pulling it into the light. He clenched his fist, and the dark thread coiled into his palm like smoke. This thing, whatever it is, it wants control. It doesn't want to erase the multiverse. It wants to remake it, from the inside out, piece by piece. Arya went silent. She knew what that meant. That's why I burned the Endlands, Adam said, turning fully toward her now. It was the lab, the factory, the shelter. It's where they ran their simulations, where they tested Nullbreed, where they let timelines rot, just to learn how to rewrite them. And now it's gone, Arya said. He nodded. Gone. No place left to hide. But if you destroyed their base, she started. They're still ahead, Adam interrupted. This wasn't their last move. It was their first. Arya stared at him, trying to keep up. Then what's next? Adam floated down slightly, toward the deepest fold of the void where the singularity had collapsed the Endlands. He placed a single hand on empty space, and space responded. A ripple, a whimper, a new trail emerged, barely visible. A fragment of a thread, almost lost. But Adam caught it. There, he said. That's the next cut. You sure? I never guess. He turned back to her. Go to Aurora. Tell her I'm on the path. Arya didn't move. She'll want to speak to you. She'll have to wait. Arya frowned. You sure you want to do this alone? He paused. Then, quietly said, no, but still turned away. I'll call if it gets bad. Define bad, Arya said. Adam smiled faintly. When I stop holding back. She sighed, backing up through a fold in space that opened behind her like silver cloth. Before she stepped through, she looked back one more time. I'll tell her you're alive. Tell her, he said. I'm awake. The fold closed. Adam faced the last floating thread. He didn't follow it right away. He just stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle. Then, whoever you are, he muttered, you picked the wrong game, and stepped into the trail of darkness. The hunt had officially begun. Elsewhere, the ring of light twisted not in flare or surge. It twisted like something ancient inhaling, like silence holding its breath too long. Joshua stepped back. Aurora's fingers hovered over the console. Her jaw clenched as the harmonic pulse wavered. Still stable but no longer calm. Something was pressing through. Then, it stepped out. No sound. No movement of air. Just presence. A shape of blackness. Matte. Weightless. Sharp around the edges, yet impossible to define. Like a man, but not really. Like Shadow had grown tired of hiding. Not the absence of light. The reason light was afraid. Joshua froze. Aurora's hands slowly rose. The figure didn't speak. Didn't move. It watched. Then one step. The lights dimmed. The temperature dropped. The being tilted its head like it was learning what gravity meant for the first time. When it spoke, the voice didn't echo. It settled quiet, hollow, and final. Joshua. Joshua flinched. Why you know me? I built you a path. Aurora narrowed her eyes. You came through our machine. Yes. You used us. Yes. Joshua's fists curled. Why? The figure's face shifted, if you could call it that. Shadows tightened. A rough shape formed. Black hair. Oil-dark eyes. A face. Adam's face. But off. Too clean. Too smooth. Like a mannequin trying to be human. My name is Valor. Joshua's throat tightened. What are you? Valor didn't blink. I am the unmaking. The correction. The silence. He stepped further in. The portal behind him shimmered and dimmed. Now dormant. Now remembering him. I was born the moment Adam Dark was born. He cracked something that should never break. I am what bled through. Who? Joshua asked, confused. Aurora's eyes narrowed. Adam. That name feels unwritten, Valor said, because in your world he was erased, sealed, forgotten. You were born in peace, but only because someone buried the storm. He looked at both of them. You too are fragments, leftovers of a war you can't remember. Joshua shook his head. We made this machine to prove the multiverse. You hijacked that. You led us here. I guided you. Why? Aurora asked. Why the dreams? The visions? Why us? Because I needed a door. I couldn't break the veil myself. Not without Adam sensing me. If he saw me, I'd lose. But through you, I could enter unnoticed. So we were bait, Joshua said. You were keys. Aurora stepped in front of Joshua now, her voice low, calm. What do you want? Valor turned to Joshua. Completion. Completion. Joshua repeated. I am not here to destroy. I am here to restore what was broken. His gaze passed to Aurora. You are echoes, the memory of gods sealed in flesh. You were never meant to exist like this. Joshua's voice cracked. So what, you want to erase us? No, Valor said. I want to reintegrate you. He stepped forward again. Slow, measured. You, Alice, Arya, Alfred, Alexandria, Aurora. You are shadows of what came before. You were born into a world with no cost. No memory of the pain that made you. Aurora's energy flared. Just a flicker. You want to unmake us. Valor didn't answer. But he didn't deny it either. Joshua took a shaky breath. Then why now? Because the gate opened. The seal weakened. The moment you chose truth. I followed. Aurora's aura expanded again. Lines of energy bending around her. She placed herself fully between Valor and Joshua. You're not taking him. I will, Valor said. When he understands. Joshua grabbed her arm. Aurora. Shut up, she whispered. Valor's body shifted again, back to shapeless dark. You were meant to fade, he said, voice like ice. But you dreamed too loud. Valor stood in silence as Aurora's aura expanded again, pressing against the room like a storm waiting to break. Lines of silver light wrapped around her arms, bending the air itself. Her hair lifted slightly, and her eyes gleamed with something older than fear, like instinct trying to remember who she used to be. Joshua stayed behind her, his breath shallow. He had no powers, none that matched this. But somehow it didn't matter. Not with her in front of him like that. Valor didn't move. Instead, he slowly sat down. Not collapsed. Not slumped. He simply lowered himself onto the cold metal floor, crossing his legs like someone resting by a fireplace. The shadows around his body coiled and uncoiled slowly, like smoke pretending to breathe. Reliving this is tiring, Valor murmured. Aurora didn't lower her guard. Then leave. He looked up at her, face unreadable. And go where? There's nowhere else left. This is the last echo of peace. The final hallway before the flood. Joshua spoke up behind her. You said, reintegrate. What does that mean? Valor looked at him, genuinely this time. You were born in a world that never remembered pain. Not real pain. Not cosmic collapse. No gods. No wars. Just systems. Civilizations. A loop of peace. He paused, then glanced around the room like he could see through it. Through walls, through history, through time itself. But that wasn't always the case. You were made. You were pieces carved from a greater whole. You, Aurora, Alice, Arya, Alfred, each of you is a failed memory. A splinter. Aurora's tone was low. That's a lie. No, Valor said. It's a kindness. He rested one arm on his knee, fingers drumming slowly. This universe is the seed. Yours. This world you call real. But something once bled into it. Fragments from another truth. A reality that couldn't die, so it splintered. And those splinters took form here. Joshua stepped beside Aurora now. You mean we're not real? Valor tilted his head slightly. You are, but you're borrowed. Like breath in a body that didn't earn it. Aurora's voice cut the air. Why tell us all this? Because Adam is awake now, Valor said. And he's moving. The storm he once buried is rising again. And I. His voice drifted. Quieter. I was supposed to stop that. Joshua frowned. But you didn't. No, Valor said softly. Because I made a mistake. I waited too long. Aurora narrowed her eyes. Then why come here now? Valor looked up again, this time meeting her gaze fully. Because your world is next. The words were simple and heavy. Joshua's mouth went dry. Next? This pocket of peace you live in. This last branch on a dying tree. It won't last, Valor said. The others are already cracking. Adam's hunt is drawing attention. He's chasing what you can't even see. And when he reaches it, when he drags it out into the light, everything will fold. Aurora's arms twitched slightly, but she held her ground. Then tell us what it is. Tell us what he's chasing. I don't know, Valor said. Joshua blinked. What? I don't know, he repeated. I was born to undo Adam. That was my only law, my only purpose. But this thing, it isn't him. It's worse. Valor closed his eyes for a moment. It came before us, before him, before the first timeline was written. It doesn't want control. It doesn't want power. It wants stillness. He opened his eyes again. And stillness doesn't need you, or me, or anything. Aurora took a step forward. So what now? You want us to help you? No, Valor said. I want you to remember. She frowned. Remember what? Valor rose slowly to his feet. The shadows around him peeled off in thin strips and curled into the air. A soft hum began to rise. Not mechanical, not magical. Like something woven into the room was vibrating with memory. Then, the walls faded. Not literally, but suddenly the room wasn't the only thing here. There was something else. A shimmer in the corner. A flicker of cold air. A shape behind a veil. And then Joshua saw it. A battlefield. Endless. Ash skies. Broken stars. 7 figures stood in a ring, torn robes and armor gleaming with godlight. Adam stood among them, eyes black, hand raised toward something immense. A beast made of wires, of rules, of broken code and writhing law. And it laughed, until Adam tore it in half. The image flickered. Now Aurora stood beside Adam, older, eyes burning blue-white. Her hands split time open like paper, holding it apart while Alfred and Arya dragged something through it. A god's corpse. It flickered again. Alexandria, crowned in black, spoke a word that killed a dimension. Flicker. Joshua, wrapped in a storm of red threads, his body torn by the strain of holding hundreds of timelines inside him. Flicker. The sky turned gold. Then silence. Then just them again. Just the lab. Just now. Joshua dropped to a knee, gripping the floor. What was that? Your truth, Valor said. Your fragments. Aurora was pale. Those weren't visions. That was real. Yes. You showed us other worlds? No, Valor said. I showed you what was. The war your souls were forged in. The pain you were never meant to forget. Joshua looked up, eyes wide. But we don't remember it. Because it was taken, Valor said. Because someone believed that if you were reborn without it, maybe the end wouldn't find you. Aurora shook her head. You're saying we're weapons. No, Valor said softly. You're the scars left behind. He walked closer, slowly, shadows quieting. I came here to collect the last of the fragments, to return you to what you were, not out of hate, out of fear, because I've seen the other side, and I know what it does when it wins. Joshua stood, unsteady. And if we say no? Valor's voice was calm. Then you'll still remember, and remembering is enough. Aurora's lips parted. You'll leave. Valor paused, then nodded. I'll wait. He looked at them both. But not long. And with that he stepped backward. A fold opened behind him, Not space, not light, just absence. He vanished. Gone. Silence settled. Joshua leaned on the console. What the hell just happened? Aurora didn't answer. She walked to the center of the room, looked at the empty air where Valor had stood, and slowly sat. We're not who we thought we were. Joshua joined her. No. We're more. Celestial plane. Aurora sat on her throne. One leg crossed over the other, elbow resting against the armrest, fingers curled lightly against her lips. She wasn't relaxed. Not even close. She hadn't said a word since she returned. Not to the Celestials, not to her attendants, not to Joshua, who was somewhere deep in thought, probably still processing what Valor revealed. Her eyes were open, but not focused. They weren't even looking at anything in this plane. They were still back there, in that moment where reality peeled back and truth spilled out. The moment she saw herself, saw him, Adam, standing at the edge of a broken universe like he had always been waiting for war to call him home. She didn't move when the space at the far side of the hall folded inward. Didn't blink when the golden ripple shimmered once, then twice, and then parted clean down the center like water meeting a blade. Arya stepped through. No words, just movement, heavy, tense. Her hair was windblown, still trailing the scent of raw magic and the scorch of burnt air. Her boots clicked once against the floor before she stopped completely. Aurora didn't look up. You came. I had to. Arya's voice was quiet. Worn. Too quiet. Aurora finally glanced toward her. Did you find him? Arya didn't speak for a second, then gave a slow nod. I did. Aurora straightened just slightly, the sharpness in her tone barely hidden now. And? Arya stepped forward. The space behind her closed like a curtain collapsing in silence. He's alive. Aurora exhaled softly, but Arya kept speaking. And he's angry. The weight of those words sank like stone. Aurora tilted her head. At us. No, Arya said. Not even close. She came closer, step by step, until she stood at the foot of the throne. Her fists clenched tightly at her sides, not out of fear, but because she was holding back the tremble in her fingers. He's seen something. He didn't say it all, but I can feel it. It's bigger than any of us thought. Bigger than the gods. Bigger than the systems. Bigger than the multiverse. Aurora narrowed her eyes. What did he say exactly? Arya took a deep breath, then repeated word for word. Something is replacing us. Aurora's throat tightened, but she didn't show it. He said it wasn't war. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't even balance. He said it was deliberate, like something built this outcome. Said it. Let it bloom. Her voice dropped lower. He said it's not just the end. It's the replacement. Aurora didn't speak, just stared at her. Arya kept going. He found the source of the signal, tracked it all the way to the Endlands, said it was a lab, a test site, someone's playground for bending timelines into shapes they were never meant to take. Nullbreed was their prototype, Aurora muttered, already piecing it together. He said the same. Aurora stood now, slowly. Her presence flared for a heartbeat, pure pressure leaking into the atmosphere. The divine energies around her flinched like prey. She stepped down from the throne, walked right up to Arya, and stopped. Their eyes locked. Did he say anything else? Arya hesitated, then nodded once. He said to tell you something. Aurora waited. Arya looked her dead in the eye. He said to tell you, he's awake. The words hit like a sword across the air. Not loud, but final. Aurora stepped back half a pace. Her eyes lowered, just a little. Something flickered in them. Something deep, familiar. A smile tugged the corner of her lips, but it wasn't joy. It was memory. Awake, she repeated. Arya nodded. He means business. There was silence between them for a long moment. Then Aurora turned away, walked across the hall, her footsteps slow, careful, like she was counting something only she could feel. He's not coming back here yet, is he? No. Good, she said. Arya frowned. Why? Because if he showed up now, the celestial seats would break before they could even ask their first question. Then what do we do? Aurora stopped walking. She looked back over her shoulder, her expression sharper now. Gather the others. Arya's eyes widened slightly. You want to bring everyone in? Aurora nodded. Alfred, Alexandria, Alice, Joshua's already been briefed. If this is what I think it is, then we don't have much time. Arya hesitated. You think Valor will come back? He's not the problem, Aurora said. He was only the shadow. Arya tilted her head slightly. Then what is the problem? Aurora looked up, not at the ceiling, but beyond it, into something only she could see. Something older, something colder, something that wants the end, but not to win, not to rule, just to quiet everything. A pause. Then her voice lowered. To freeze creation itself. Arya said nothing, just watched her. Then softly asked, Do you think we can stop it? Aurora looked at her for a long moment, then smiled. It wasn't warm. It was the kind of smile you see on someone who remembers war too well. I don't know. She walked past Arya now, heading back toward her throne. But I know this. She turned, just as she sat down again. Adam doesn't plan on losing. The bottom of the world, the red pit. The air was thick. Not heavy. Thick, like it had been marinating in dread and unwashed feet for the last 1,000 years. Adam stood at the edge of the pit, arms crossed, his white cloak slightly scorched at the edges, probably from that unfortunate encounter with the sentient cactus a few hills back. He didn't say anything. He just stared. The pit in question wasn't just red. It glowed, like angry fruit punch mixed with the lingering regret of 17 failed marriages. It didn't flicker or pulse. It hummed. A low, nasty hum, like a mosquito whispering, "You can't kill me," in your ear at night. Dozens of cultivators stood nearby, all keeping a very respectful, totally not cowardly distance from the edge. Someone push him in, a voice whispered from the back. Adam blinked. The crowd stiffened. He turned slowly. The cultivator who spoke. A skinny guy with a patchy beard and robes about 3 sizes too big, pretended to inspect the nearby grass. Nice grass. Yep. Top-tier blade density. Good feng shui. Adam sighed and returned his gaze to the pit. One old cultivator, who looked like he hadn't blinked since the first dynasty fell, finally broke the silence. This pit wasn't here last week. No one asked, someone muttered. It just appeared, the old man snapped. Overnight, like the heavens farted and forgot to bury the evidence. A few people nodded grimly. That actually sounded about right. Adam crouched at the edge now, his eyes narrowing. The aura from the pit was worse up close, like breathing in cooked iron and disappointment. Anyone toss a rock in? He asked. One of the younger cultivators nodded. Yeah, it screamed. Everyone stared at him. What? You sure it wasn't you screaming? Someone asked. The guy folded his arms. Hey, just because I fell in once doesn't mean I'm unreliable. Adam raised an eyebrow. You fell in. Temporarily. Adam ignored the reply and picked up a small stone, flipping it in his hand. He stared at it for a moment, then casually tossed it into the pit. The silence afterward was absolute. The stone vanished in a puff of red mist. A gurgle came from the pit. Then a voice. Low, hollow, slurred like it had just woken up after a nap that lasted 3 centuries. Got any snacks? A few cultivators ran. Adam blinked. Did that pit just talk? Asked one wide-eyed elder. Another cultivator dropped to her knees. The gods are pranking us. This is punishment for stealing the sex beef jerky. Adam stood. Huh. Interesting. You call that interesting? Someone yelled. The ground beneath them trembled slightly. Then again like a beat. Boom, boom, boom. Something was rising from the pit. Adam didn't move. He just rubbed his chin. Hope it's not another tentacle. I'm tired of tentacles. From the edge of the red mist, a hand rose. No, not a hand. A noodle. A wriggling, steaming noodle, except it was made of energy and smelled like raw spirit beasts left out in the sun. Everyone stared. Then another noodle. Then another. Soon, a full-on head emerged. Vaguely humanoid, but shaped like it had been drawn by a blind child using a chicken bone. 2 eyes blinked open. They were uneven. "Yo!" the creature said. No one replied. "Anyone got broth?" it asked. Adam tilted his head. "Are you sentient ramen?" The being blinked. "Do I look like ramen?" "Kind of," Adam said. The noodle entity frowned. "Rude." A cultivator behind Adam whispered, "Sir, should we flee?" Adam held up a hand. "Let's give it 5 minutes. Could be friendly." The entity fully emerged now, floating lazily above the pit. Its body wobbled as it moved, like jelly on a trampoline. "I'm called He Who Slumbers in the Flavor." "Oh my God," someone muttered. Adam stepped forward. "And what exactly is your deal?" The being shrugged. "Dunno. I was sleeping. Someone dropped spicy rocks on me." "Sorry," Adam said. The being sniffed. "You smell like void flame. And soup. You got soup." "No." Aside. "Figures." More cultivators started backing away slowly. One even tried to summon a bird to fly off, but it turned into a fish halfway and flopped uselessly. The cultivation world was weird like that. Adam looked the creature up and down. "You're not the threat I came to find." "I better not be," the being said. "I'm allergic to plot." Adam chuckled. Some of the tension faded. Then the pit pulsed again. Not from the being. From below it. The noodle creature paused mid-float. "Oh no." Adam's eyes narrowed. "What?" The creature turned slowly. "I wasn't the one humming." A deep roar thundered up from the pit. Something massive stirred. Adam stepped forward as red light spiraled upward like a reversed waterfall. The cultivators behind him screamed and scattered like chickens fleeing tax collectors. The ground cracked, and something huge, noodles forgotten, rose into view. It had no face, no limbs, just a writhing mass of flesh and runes, covered in countless broken cultivation seals. Adam narrowed his eyes. "Now that's what I'm looking for." The thing howled, but it wasn't a sound. It was a pull, a devourer of concepts. Names vanished from memory. One cultivator forgot his own sect. Another forgot pants were a thing. Adam stepped forward, then turned, and picked up a single stick from the ground. Everyone froze. "Is he seriously?" someone started. Adam leapt, and smacked the creature once on the top with the stick. The world stopped. The creature paused, then sneezed. Loudly. The blast flung half the remaining cultivators across the canyon. Adam landed casually. "Bless you," he said. The creature twitched. Then slowly, shrank, 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 until it was a slime ball. A red slime ball with little nubs for eyes. It wobbled once. "Why?" "Because I didn't have soup," Adam said. The noodle being floated nearby, watching. "Okay, that was new." Adam turned back to the group. "Well," he said, "we've learned 2 things today." He held up a finger. 1, always bring soup. Another. 2, this pit is a seal, not a source. It holds echoes of what came before. Whatever created that monster. Long gone. Or maybe moved. A hand rose in the crowd. "So it's safe." "No," Adam said. "It's bait." He turned and looked down the pit again. At the layers beneath. At the runes now glowing faintly along the walls. "They wanted someone strong to come here." Another pause. Then Adam grinned. "I'll bite." He leapt into the pit. Gone. Silence. The cultivators just stared at each other. One finally asked, "Do we tell the sect elders?" Another answered, "They'll just send us next." "Wanna fake our deaths?" "Already did." They ran. Behind them the pit pulsed once more. But this time, it welcomed the descent. Adam landed softly. No thud. No splash. Just stillness. The ground beneath him wasn't rock. Wasn't dirt. felt like pages. He looked down. The surface was made of thousands, maybe millions of paper-thin sheets, all overlapping like fish scales. Each one pulsed faintly red, and tiny letters crawled across them like ants trying to escape a burning forest. He crouched, picked one up. The letters on it stopped moving the moment his fingers touched the page. Then, very politely, it burst into flame and disintegrated. Ha! He dusted his hand off and stood. The walls around him shifted, not like a tunnel, more like a throat deciding whether to swallow or let him pass. He walked forward. There was no light source, just that same red glow leaking from the paper beneath his feet. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a chamber. No, not a chamber. A library, or what was left of one. Bookshelves floated in the air, broken and half-melted. Scrolls hung midair in slow spirals like they were falling through syrup. An upside-down chair slowly rotated near the ceiling, where gravity seemed to be having an existential crisis. Adam stepped inside, and the air immediately became thicker, like he'd walked into a room full of silent, arguing ghosts. A voice rasped from behind one of the shelves. "I smell ignorance." Adam turned slowly. A pale figure stepped out, wearing a scholar's robe covered in scorch marks and little sticky notes that read things like, "Do not eat time crystals," and "Don't trust the soup." The figure pushed up his cracked spectacles. "Another hero?" "Hardly," Adam said. "Good," the man replied. "Last hero melted. Very unhelpful." He walked past Adam like a bored librarian, eyeing the ruined shelves. "This place is the Forbidden Archive," he explained. "We collect things that should never have been remembered. Unfortunately, we forgot to install an alarm system, so the thing upstairs got loose." Adam followed, hands in his cloak pockets. The man stopped before a hovering scroll and tapped it with a stick. The scroll hissed and curled away like a kicked cat. "Right," he muttered. "That one bites." He turned to Adam. "Why are you here?" "Because the pit smiled at me," Adam said. The man stared, then nodded. "Yep, that'll do it." He gestured toward a torn doorway, half submerged in red mist. "Go through there. That's where it ends." "Ends?" Adam asked. "For most," the man said, adjusting his glasses. "Or begins. Depends how much sarcasm you're made of." Adam headed toward the doorway. The mist thickened, and something shifted in the walls. It wasn't sound. It was tone. Like the air itself was mumbling. Whispers. Flickers of broken voices. "He's awake. Shouldn't be here." Again? How many times must he climb? Adam stepped through, and the world flipped. Layer 2, the Hall of Errors. He hit ground again. This time, the floor was smooth obsidian. The air crackled faintly with the scent of burnt code and regret. Massive stone pillars rose in the dark, each etched with phrases in languages long dead, and a few written in Comic Sans, which honestly felt like a war crime. A large stone tablet floated in the center of the room. Carved onto it was a single question. "Why?" Adam squinted, then touched the tablet. It asked again. "Why?" "I dunno," Adam muttered. Felt like a Tuesday. The tablet vibrated. The ground trembled. And then something spoke. A voice. Deep, monotone, and far too bored to be a god. "You answered wrong." A pair of eyes opened in the dark. Huge. Tired. Slightly bloodshot. "You're supposed to reflect," the voice groaned. "Like, existentially. Do a soul journey. Cry a bit. Learn something." Adam scratched his neck. "Bit late for soul searching. I already read the end of the book." The voice paused. "Did you highlight anything?" "No." The voice sighed. "You're impossible." Then the darkness peeled back, and something stepped forward. It looked like a monk made entirely of rejected ideas. His robe was stitched from half-finished prophecies, and he had an hourglass embedded in his chest that flowed sideways. "I am the Error Keeper," he said, "guardian of broken logic and unused plot lines." "Cool," Adam replied. "I'm Adam." "Adam?" The monk blinked. The hourglass in his chest stopped for a second, then reversed, then exploded and reformed. "Oh no," the monk whispered. "Oh yes," Adam said, cracking his knuckles. The monk backed up slowly. You're not supposed to be here yet. You're still sealed." "I sneezed and broke it," Adam said casually. The monk turned, grabbed a book off a floating shelf, flipped a few pages. "That's not even a valid escape method." "Guess it is now." The monk froze, then dropped the book and ran. Full speed, yelling, "He's back! He's back! The system lied. He's back!" Adam blinked. "That's new." He looked around. The entire room began to collapse. Not fall apart, collapse. Folders closed. Memories unwrote themselves. Light bent the wrong way and apologized. Adam walked forward, calm, unbothered. He passed through the crumbling data space like someone walking through a dream melting from heat. At the center of it all was a spiral, a floating crimson ring of layered circles, pulsing gently. Adam touched it. The world paused. For a second he saw her, Aurora, sitting on her throne, eyes focused. She turned as if she felt him. Back in the collapsing hall, Adam smiled faintly. Then the ring absorbed him. Gone. Somewhere else or deeper than below. Adam fell through nothing. No light, no sound. Then, feet hit ground again. A flat plane, black, empty, and across it, something waited. No form, no shape, just a presence. Cold, old, watching. Adam stepped forward. "No noodles this time?" Silence. Then a voice. "You broke the order." Adam shrugged. "Didn't like the layout. You were not meant to remember." "Well," he said, cracking his neck. "I do." The silence pulsed. Then the voice said simply, "Then come." Adam smiled and stepped forward. Somewhere else, beyond the bottom. Adam walked, but not on ground. The floor beneath him wasn't physical. It was like moving across condensed memory. Moments stacked so tight they became solid. Every step echoed, not with sound, but with feeling. One footfall might trigger the memory of a forgotten war. The next, a child's laugh from a world that no longer existed. Still, he walked. The presence across the plain didn't move. It didn't breathe. It simply waited, like gravity that hadn't decided what to pull on yet. After what felt like a minute or maybe a lifetime, Adam reached it. There was nothing to see, just a feeling, pressure, weight, a shape not made of matter but of consequence. Then eyes. Two glowing slits blinked into existence. Horizontal, flat, white but not light. Just void. A voice followed, this time closer, smoother. "You remember what should not exist." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, that's kind of my thing." The presence pulsed. Not threatening, not angry, curious. "I have many names," the voice said, "but none spoken by mouths born in this age." Adam nodded slowly. "So you're old. Older than the first timeline. Older than sequence. I am what came before logic tried to make sense of itself." Adam folded his arms. "And you live at the bottom of a pit." "I am the bottom," the voice replied. "The last truth. The error no system could ever purge." Suddenly, space bent. Not like a ripple. More like the concept of straight decided it had a better offer. The figure rose. It wasn't made of flesh. It looked like a man sketched in ink across shattered mirrors. Every angle wrong. Every shadow too slow to keep up. His body pulsed with layered script. Language older than thought. "Why did you come here, Adam Dark?" it asked. Adam stared, then shrugged. "Boredom. Destiny. Trauma. Pick one." The being tilted its head. Then it moved. Instant. 1 second it was across the plain. The next it stood inches from Adam. His face had no mouth. Yet the voice was loud. "I can offer you peace." Adam blinked. "Pass." "Power." Adam's lip twitched. "Already full." "Truth." "Don't need more headaches." The being paused. "You should fear me." Adam looked up at it, face calm. I've already met worse. The presence shivered, like the air itself had taken offense. Then the sky cracked. A jagged streak of black lightning tore across the horizon above them, except there was no sky, just ceilingless nothing. But still, it cracked like a dome under pressure. The figure's tone changed. You joke now, but soon, you will beg. Adam raised an eyebrow. Beg who? The figure didn't answer. Collapsed inward, folded itself into a long needle of ink and vanished through the ground with a whisper. Then the world tilted. No, inverted. Adam didn't fall. The plane did. Flipped like a page being turned. And now, he was falling again. Down. But not through space. Through layers. Each one a snapshot of a different Adam. One where he never awakened. One where he ruled everything. One where he died as a child. Another where he wasn't born at all. Each version flickered past like a slideshow of lives that never got to be. And then, a world without Adam. No chaos. No war. Just peace. Empty, eerie peace. People smiled. But they looked tired. Unmoved. Like puppets stuck in a script with no director. Adam frowned. Is this supposed to scare me? The voice returned, whispering now close to his ear. This is what the world becomes without you. Balanced. Sterile. Final. Adam landed again. Same platform. Same presence. But now, something else was there. Aurora. She stood a few feet behind him, eyes wide, face pale. She didn't speak. Neither did Adam. Because between them stood another version of himself. Same eyes. Same posture. But colder. Cleaner. Polished. Like a version that never bled. The clean Adam looked at them both. I was the backup, he said. In case you failed. Real Adam blinked. Well, I didn't. Yet, the other said. But your steps break the pattern. Your thoughts unravel safeguards. You're not Adam anymore. You're the one who remembers. Aurora stepped forward. Then who are you? The clean Adam smiled. I'm what he was meant to be. Unfeeling. Unyielding. Pure function. No pain. No freedom. Adam's eyes narrowed. So, you're a spreadsheet with good hair. Clean Adam's smile faded. Aurora's hands lit with silver, instinct kicking in. But before anything else, the presence returned. No form this time. No eyes. Just raw silence. So loud it erased movement. Everything froze. Except Adam. And the voice spoke one final time. You cannot kill what you were. You must choose. Adam looked at the other version of himself. Then at Aurora. Then forward, into the dark ahead, where the path bent once more. He cracked his knuckles. Then smiled. And without a word, he walked forward. Through both copies of himself. Through the frozen world. And into whatever came next. Because whatever was waiting, it was time it met him. Adam walked. And the world let him. The moment he stepped through his frozen copy and the still glowing Aurora, they shattered, not like glass, but like reflections in a broken pond, melting into ripples of light and memory. The silence behind him stitched itself shut like it had never existed. Now there was only this corridor, but not made of walls. The space around him stretched out like a ribcage made of starlight, curving overhead and narrowing beneath his feet. Every bone-like arch flickered with scenes, snapshots of forgotten timelines, dead universes, broken laws of reality. Some were beautiful, some were unspeakable, some were just strange. One frame showed Adam dancing with someone who looked like a god. Another showed him chained in a prison made from his own thoughts. Another showed a version of him that looked happy. That one lingered a little longer than the rest. But Adam didn't stop walking, because something was calling now. A heartbeat, not his, not this world's. Something deeper. It echoed through the corridor like thunder stuck underwater. Steady, slow, massive. Boom, boom, boom. The pulse shook the archways. Dust, not dust, but shredded ideas, rained down from above. They dissolved before reaching the ground. Adam tilted his head. The pulse wasn't random. It was counting down. He kept walking. Then, up ahead, something flickered. A shape. It was small at first, like a moth made of light, blinking in and out of phase. Then it grew, and spoke. "You really don't stop, do you?" The voice was male, calm, tired, but not weak. Not mocking either. Just impressed, like someone watching a storm roll in after thinking the skies were done bleeding. Adam slowed. The shape flickering ahead started to solidify, gathering mass, detail, presence. It was a man, or something close. Slender, tall, dressed in a long half-tattered coat made of layered threads, each thread glowing faintly like a fiber pulled from a dying sun. His hair was long, drifting weightlessly like it didn't belong to gravity anymore. His eyes weren't eyes. They were clocks, ticking, but not forward. Each second went back. Adam stopped a few steps away, hands in his pockets. "So, what do they call you?" The man smiled faintly. "Once, I was called Cronarch, keeper of Time's skeleton, the one who records what never happened." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Skeleton?" Cronarch nodded slowly. "What you know as time is just the skin of something bigger. I live beneath that, among the bones, the failures, the loops that broke, the starts that never had middles." He gestured around them. "All of this corridor, it's made from them. Every timeline that fell apart, every beginning that didn't go anywhere. You're walking on corpses, Adam. Ideas that couldn't breathe." Adam glanced down. The ground didn't change, but now he could feel it. Regret, missed chances, unborn stories clinging to the soles of his boots like static. "And you're here," Cronarch said, stepping closer. "Which means the core has already started reacting to you." Adam tilted his head. "You know about the core?" Cronarch gave a tired nod. "Everyone who's ever stepped out of the pattern knows. Most go mad just seeing the corridor. But you walked through it like it owed you rent." Adam smirked. "Maybe it does." A beat of silence. Then Cronarch sighed and looked past Adam, down the path. "Do you know what's waiting in there?" "Nope." Cronarch didn't laugh, just stared at him for a moment. Then he raised a hand and pointed. At the end of the corridor, the ribs of starlight began to fold inward, spiraling like the inside of a nautilus shell. And in the very center, something shimmered. Not a door, not a gate, a pulse, like the heart of everything. But it wasn't beating. It was watching, waiting to be touched. Cronarch dropped his hand. "That's the core. But not the code, not the system. That's the thing inside the thing. The reason all this exists. And if you touch it..." Adam cut him off. "I change." Cronarch didn't nod this time. He just stared. "You remembered, Adam. And now the core remembers you. Do you have any idea what that means?" Adam stepped forward. "No." Cronarch didn't stop him. "Somewhere else, the corridor's end." Adam stepped forward. Cronarch didn't follow. He just stood there, watching, silent, like he'd already seen this before in some ghost of time that never got written down. The corridor began to change. It wasn't sudden, just subtle. The arches of starlight above started warping, twisting slower, like space itself was stretching to hold its breath. The shimmer ahead, the core, grew brighter. Not violently, not like an explosion, but like it knew it had company, like it was waking up. The light wasn't white. It was every color Adam had ever seen, and colors he hadn't. They shifted with no pattern. They breathed. They pulled at his memory. One moment it was gold like sunlight through his sister's hair. The next, it was the pale blue of the sky from a planet that had never existed but felt like home. Adam didn't stop. The corridor began responding. Reality bled from the ribs on either side, memories spilling into the space around him, drawn from the places even Adam didn't look anymore. To his left he saw her. Aurora. Not the one from now. A different version. Younger. Bruised. Hiding under a broken dome. Eyes wide as fire rained outside. Her lips moved. No sound. But the fear was real. Her world had ended, and she had survived it alone. To his right, a mirror. Not glass, not clean. A smear of warped reflection. It showed Adam in a chair. Alone. A blade through his chest. Not in pain. Just tired. Tired enough to let it stay. He looked away. The corridor dimmed. The heartbeat grew louder. Boom. Boom. Each beat now pulled at the gravity in his chest, like it was syncing with his own rhythm, dragging his essence forward, not his body, not his steps, something deeper. Then the floor cracked, not from weight, from memory. The ribs split, revealing jagged edges of forgotten timelines. Ones even Cronarch hadn't stitched into the walls. They were wild, unfinished, dangerous. One showed Adam as a beast, horns splitting his skull, wings made of chain and ash, eyes black as the void that birthed the gods. Another showed him walking across a battlefield littered with the bodies of friends, names carved into the ground in languages older than stars. But they weren't warnings. They were offerings. Like the corridor wanted to show him everything. All his possible selves. All the paths he had never taken. All the things he could still become. And then, he reached it. The pulse. It was suspended in the air, about the size of his chest, floating just above a cracked pedestal made of broken time. Fragments of stopped watches, frozen sunrises, and screams stuck in rewind. It didn't glow. It throbbed. Once every few seconds, like it was waiting for permission to beat again. Adam stepped closer. The pulse flinched. It saw him. Not just his face. Not his soul. Everything. Every life. Every mistake, every atom he'd ever breathed. The core didn't look at him. It knew him. It was remembering what he was before anyone else had the nerve to say his name out loud. He reached a hand forward, and it pushed back. Not a strike, not an attack. A feeling, like touching the surface of a dream someone else had forgotten. It didn't hurt, but it wasn't gentle. Adam's hand twitched. His breath hitched. Something inside him moved. Something that hadn't shifted since the day he first awakened. Something old. Then he stepped closer, touched it with both hands. And the corridor broke. Shattered. Like paper soaked in blood. Reality peeled back like it had only been pretending. And suddenly, he wasn't standing anymore. He was falling. But not down. Inward. Into the core. Into himself. Into something that didn't have a name. There was no light, no floor, just a voice. Not a voice like Cronarch. Not a voice like the others. This one came from everywhere. And nowhere. Access acknowledged. Adam blinked. He wasn't breathing. There was no air. Still, he was alive. Identity, dark, Adam. Status, anomaly. Relevance, critical. The space flickered. Code appeared in the dark, not typed, but grown, like crystal branching from thought. Lines of data formed structures around him. Systems, protocols, laws of reality written in raw command. Then, error. Unresolved pattern detected. The voice shifted. No longer robotic. Just disappointed. You were supposed to sleep. Adam floated in the middle of the storm. You were meant to forget. The core flared. Not with light. With awareness. You broke recursion. Then a flash. A woman. Eyes like galaxies. Hair that moved like equations folding into themselves. She looked at him, not surprised. I'm what came before the core was named, she said softly. A pattern that never wanted to be born. And now you've touched me. Adam tried to speak. But sound didn't exist here. She heard him anyway. You want answers. He nodded. She reached for his chest. Not to harm. To show. Suddenly he saw it. Not with eyes. With truth. What the core really was. It wasn't a system. It wasn't a god. It was a knot. Tied from the first thought that tried to make sense of why anything existed. A defense. A loop. A containment field for curiosity itself. So powerful it created the illusion of order, time, space, gods, stories. All of it, a firewall to protect the question no one should ask. And Adam? Adam had remembered too much. "You're not supposed to be," the woman said. "But you are." Adam hovered in that weightless storm of silence and knowing. The woman's hand hovered inches from his chest. But she didn't push, didn't force. She just let the truth seep into him. And that's when the memory clicked. Not like a flashback, not like a vision, but like something that had always been there, finally allowed to finish its sentence. He remembered the first time he felt wrong. Not as a child, not as a god, but before all that, before names, before form, when he was just a ripple in the fabric of possibility, drifting in the echo of the first contradiction. He had asked something no ripple was supposed to ask. Why? Not why me, just why anything? And the universe didn't answer, because it couldn't. So it made the core, a loop, a boundary, a firewall. It didn't punish the question. It buried it, wrapped it in timelines and rules and stories and pain and destiny. Because that question, why, wasn't dangerous on its own. But the one who remembered asking it, that was a problem. Adam blinked. The woman with eyes like galaxies nodded as if reading the truth inside him. "You were always the thread," she said. "The original loose end." He looked around at the spinning walls of broken protocol, half-made systems, crashing timelines, all crumbling like old scaffolding around a truth that didn't want to stay hidden anymore. Then her voice changed, soft still but edged with something sharper. "You need to know something else." She raised her hand, not to his chest now, but toward the dark beyond them. The split, like skin pulling apart to show the muscle underneath. And from that tear, something stepped out. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, wrong. The silhouette was familiar, too familiar. Same frame, same shape, same weight to its presence. But the shadows clung to it like oil. His eyes, empty, not black, not red, just gone. The woman didn't flinch. Adam didn't either. He stared, and the thing stared back. Then the woman spoke again. "This is your shadow." Adam said nothing, just exhaled, slow. "He was born the moment you were," she continued. "Not in the same timeline, not even in the same world, but from the same crack." The shadow's body twitched, just slightly, not aggressive, but impatient. "While you carried the question," she whispered, "he carried the cure." Adam's jaw tensed. What cure? The one the core built in secret, the final fallback, a being designed not to answer the question. She turned toward the shadow, but to erase the one who remembered it. The shadow took a step forward. No sound, just pressure. But then it stopped. The woman didn't move. Neither did Adam. She looked at them both now. "But here's the twist," she said. "You're not enemies." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Sure looks like one." She smiled faintly. "For now, you share the same enemy." A pulse rolled through the core. Deep, low, different. Adam felt it instantly. So did the shadow. They both turned toward the dark behind the woman. Something else moved there. Something heavier. Like an idea too big to think about, trying to fit through the cracks. The woman's face hardened. "The core is waking up," she said. "The original pattern, the will that keeps everything in place. It feels your presence. Both of you." She turned back to Adam. "You are the breach." Then to the shadow. "And you are the scalpel." "But the core," she whispered, almost reverent. "It doesn't want surgery anymore." Adam blinked. "So what does it want?" Her eyes dimmed. "To start over. A reset." She nodded. "The kind that doesn't leave survivors. Not even echoes. It wants to undo not just time, but the memory of time." The storm of data around them flickered faster, less stable now. Adam looked at the shadow again. He stared back. Still quiet, still calm. But now he understood something. The shadow wasn't evil. It wasn't mad. It didn't hate him. It just was a function, purpose. It existed to remove anomalies. But now something bigger was hunting both of them. The core had changed the rules. Adam exhaled. Great. The woman turned toward him again. You must survive this reset. Both of you. Because once it collapses, only the ones outside the pattern will remain. And then what? You decide what comes next. Silence. Adam turned to the shadow. You gonna try to kill me later? The shadow didn't speak, but its head tilted slightly, almost like a nod. Adam smirked. Fair. Then he looked back at the woman. What do I need to do? She stepped back, the darkness folding behind her like it missed her already. You already did it, she said. You remembered. And then, she was gone. The dark swallowed her without noise or flash. Just gone. And now it was just Adam and the shadow. The pulse behind them grew louder. Not like a heartbeat now. More like a countdown. Adam turned. The reset was coming. The core was rewriting. Unwriting. He could feel the first lines of existence unraveling behind him like threads pulling loose from a tapestry. The shadow took a step forward. Adam mirrored it. No weapons. No power flares. Just two sides of the same question walking toward what was left of an answer. Not allies. Not enemies. Not yet. But for now, they would survive. Together. The wind hit his face like someone had thrown a pillow soaked in spirit energy. Adam blinked. He was back. The red sky of the lower cultivation world stretched wide above him. The cracked horizon glowed faintly. The pit he'd left behind, the one that had screamed, whispered, and begged for attention, was still there, trembling like a child that had seen too much. He stared at it for a moment. No words, no dramatic thoughts. Then he raised his hand, snapped his fingers. Reality folded itself shut like a lazy book. The pit vanished. Done. Closed. No ripple. No trace. Like it had never existed. Adam stood in silence. Then he nodded to himself and muttered, Okay, now I deserve some fun. He stretched, cracking his neck. God-devouring resets, core conspiracies, my shadow trying to kill me later. I've earned a vacation. And with that, he floated off the ground and headed west. Not fast. Not flying. Just floating. One leg crossed over the other like he was lounging on an invisible recliner. Hands behind his head, drifting sideways through the sky like the world's laziest comet. The cultivators below stared up in horror. Or wonder. Or both. Because Adam didn't exactly blend in. He still wore the same black coat, dusted with core ash. His hair danced even when there was no wind. His eyes didn't glow. But they did not glow either. And the air around him didn't just hum. It whispered rude comments in old languages. By the time he reached the first village, people were already bowing without knowing why. He landed softly in the center plaza. Someone screamed. Adam raised a brow. Bit rude. I didn't even say anything yet. A man stumbled forward, holding a wooden staff like it could help him survive whatever this was. Who are you? Adam pointed at himself. Me? Just a wandering cultivator. You're flying without spiritual pressure. You don't even have a chi signature. Adam leaned in. And yet, here I am. The man dropped his staff. Adam picked it up and handed it back. You might want this. Someone might rob you. The man blinked. You're the one robbing us of sanity. Adam patted him on the shoulder. That's the spirit. The villagers watched as Adam walked casually to a large stone in the middle of town. The one with inscriptions nobody could read for 500 years. Adam crouched, squinted at it, and muttered, Ah, right? It's upside down. He flipped the entire stone with one finger. The moment he did, the words lit up in golden flame. Every cultivator in the area felt their dantian twitch. Adam grinned. Boom. Free enlightenment. He didn't wait for thanks. Just waved and strolled away. Behind him, 3 cultivators spontaneously broke through to foundation stage and passed out from joy. Adam wandered into the mountains next. He found a sect mid-training. 100 disciples on a bamboo platform, surrounded by shouting elders and stern-faced instructors. He hovered above the crowd. No one noticed until his shadow passed over the Grandmaster's lunch. Who dares interrupt? Oh. Adam slowly descended like a feather made of sarcasm. One elder pointed. You can't be here. This is a sacred trial ground for. Adam held up a finger. The elder shut up. Literally. His voice just vanished. Adam nodded. Better. He looked at the disciples. All right. Who here thinks they're talented? A few raised their hands. Adam pointed at a nervous-looking boy in the back. You. What's your name? Lin Hao, sir. Good name, Adam said. You're now at nascent soul stage. The boy blinked and exploded. Not violently, just upwards in power. The ground cracked beneath him as his aura skyrocketed. The elders staggered back, robes flapping from the force of it. Adam turned to the instructors. He's your new head disciple. Try not to get jealous. He left before anyone could scream. By the time the elders started arguing about whether this was a blessing or a nightmare, Adam was already brewing tea with an old lady in the next village over. You're not from here, she said while pouring. Adam nodded. Just visiting. You're very polite for someone that makes the sky nervous. Adam sipped. I try. Want to start a sect? She asked. He blinked. Pardon. She shrugged. You've got the vibe. Adam stared at the tea, then at the mountain range nearby, then at the tea again. Yeah, why not? She pointed at a patch of forest. Plenty of space over there. Just don't wake the stone dragon. He gets cranky. Noted. 2 hours later, there was a mountain-sized structure made of floating glass and obsidian hovering 10 feet off the ground. Cultivators from miles away watched in awe as celestial music played from nowhere and golden leaves floated lazily around it. A large banner hung from the front, written in bold, chaotic brush strokes. Sect of whatever I feel like. The old lady from earlier was now chief elder. Lin Hao was automatically recruited as the first disciple. He was still adjusting. A small girl who could talk to animals joined too. She rode in on a tiger that wouldn't stop purring. Adam gave her the title Beast Commander Supreme, mostly because it sounded cool. They gained over 80 disciples in under a day. Adam made no entrance exam. If someone knocked, they got in. If they annoyed him, they left. One man tried to sneak in with evil intentions. Adam gave him a sandwich, rewrote his personality, and sent him on a redemption arc. He's currently writing poetry about flowers and crying a lot. Word spread fast. Other sects got nervous. What kind of cultivator raises disciples by accident and empowers them with a look? One tried to investigate. They sent a spy. The spy was offered a bathrobe, a cup of coffee, and enlightenment. He joined instantly. Adam didn't care about rival sections. He wasn't here for war. He was here for fun. One day he woke up and decided he wanted to see who was the strongest in the world. So he shouted into the sky, "Hey, anyone think they're stronger than me? Meet me at the sky pole at dawn." He floated away without explaining where the sky pole was. At dawn, every major clan leader, warlord, and ancient beast ended up waiting at a massive cliff, unsure if it was the sky pole or not. Adam didn't show up. He slept in. Instead, he left a note floating in the air. Too lazy. Maybe tomorrow. The continent descended into an existential crisis. Meanwhile, Adam was helping an old fisherman catch a legendary koi spirit that had mocked him for 10 years. He didn't kill the koi. He invited it to dinner. It accepted. They're friends now. One evening, Adam sat at the edge of his new sect, watching the stars and sipping wine made from moon fruit. Lin Hao sat beside him, still awkward in his new power. Senior Adam? Who? Are you really? Adam swirled his drink. I'm someone who got tired of asking why. Lin Hao frowned. I don't understand. Adam smirked. Good. Keep it that way. You'll live longer. The night passed quiet, but Adam knew it wouldn't last. Eventually, the core would try again. His shadow would return. The universe would pull him back into its web. But until then, he was going to enjoy this world, One ridiculous day at a time. He stood up, snapped his fingers. The stars rearranged into a dragon. Kids across the continent pointed and screamed in delight. Adam laughed. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But tonight was his. And he was going to make this world remember him, not as a god or anomaly, just as Adam, the guy who floated into town one day and flipped the world upside down because he was bored. And honestly, it was just getting fun. Somewhere beyond the mortal shells, in a fracture tucked between seconds, Valor walked. Not stepped, walked. No trail, no footprint, no sound. He didn't exist here. Not really. The world was trying to reset. He could feel it. A slow, creeping pressure, like a hand reaching through time, fumbling for a cord to unplug the universe and start again. It wasn't from the core. It wasn't from Adam. It wasn't even from anything alive. It was something else. Old, desperate, artificial. He followed the signal like a hunter in the dark. Each pulse bled across the folds of space like oil on fire. Wrong. Messy. Dangerous. Whatever it was, it didn't belong, not even to the systems Adam broke. And then it stopped. Not faded, stopped. Valor halted. He was standing at the edge of a crater made of frozen time. The air hummed like a scream on mute. Light flickered in reverse. The trees nearby bent away, their leaves peeling off and reversing into buds. Something had been here. Something powerful enough to overwrite presence itself. He narrowed his eyes. And that's when the stars bent. No, just one. A streak of raw spatial energy tore across the horizon, slamming down in front of him. She landed silent as a blade. Aurora, still in her celestial form, cloak flickering like dark flame, her hair glowing in pulses, ice cold, focused, determined. "You're late," she said. Valor didn't move. Aurora stepped forward. "You think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't see you tracking these pulses?" Silence. "I've been watching you, Adam." He didn't flinch. Aurora's voice softened just slightly. "Why did you hide from me?" He tilted his head. For the briefest second, he considered correcting her. But he didn't. Instead, he nodded once. That's all it took. Aurora's eyes narrowed. "So it's true. You've been back." Valor didn't speak. Not yet. Not until he was sure. Not until he saw it in her face. She didn't know. She really thought he was Adam. Interesting. He relaxed his stance. Let his body language shift just slightly, less void, more weight. Like someone carrying old pain instead of being made of it. "I came to see it myself," he said, mimicking Adam's tone. Low, flat, a little tired. "But you didn't tell us." Her voice was sharp again. "Joshua's worried. Arya's been trying to reach you for weeks. I thought you—" "I'm fine," Valor said calmly. Aurora stepped closer. Her domain wrapped around them, folding the space into a locked chamber of silence and secrecy. He didn't resist. This was perfect. She thought he was the real thing. If he played it right, she'd tell him everything. Aurora looked at him carefully. "You feel colder." He tilted his head. "Time does that. Not to you. Smart girl. But not smart enough." "You've been chasing something," she said. "I saw the fracture near Sector 12. You erased it before I could scan it." Valor said nothing. "It was you, wasn't it? You were tracking the reset signature." He nodded again. Slow. Intentional. Aurora's expression darkened. "Is it back?" Now they were getting somewhere. Valor studied her. Still the same mind. Still trying to hold every thread together. Still the one who'd rather carry the world's burden alone than share it with those she loved. That part hadn't changed. But something in her was cracking. He could feel it. She was scared. "Good." "Yes," he finally said. Just one word, but she heard everything in it. Aurora closed her eyes. "Do you know what it is?" "Not yet," he lied. "Then we find it together." He paused. This wasn't part of the plan. She stepped even closer. Her presence brushed against his. "You don't have to do this alone anymore. Not this time." Valor didn't answer. His mind ran simulations faster than most realms could blink. Aurora by his side. Dangerous, but also useful. She had access, power, memories locked away even from him. If he could steer her, use her without revealing himself. Yes, he said again. Aurora gave a rare, small smile. Good. Then we start now.